Hi, if you're watching this message right now, it means that you're about to watch between episodes 1 and 23 of my show, Conversations with Atul. Please note that when you'll be watching these first 23 episodes, you will just see a picture of me and a picture of the guest on your screen. That is because the first 23 episodes we never recorded live video. These were audio only episodes meant for Spotify. So, what happened was, when I shifted my show to YouTube and started recording video, I felt that my audience should also listen to these first fantastic 23 episodes with some amazing people, great anecdotes, inspiring lives. Like Mukhtar Bhai, who runs a carom club in Thane for the last 35 years, the amazing voiceover artist Nikhil Kapoor, the orchestra man Sudhir Sinha, or the whistler Nagesh Surve. I wanted you to be a part of this experience. One little thing that you will see this message that I've recorded right now before each of the 23 episodes of Conversations with Atul. So, enjoy the conversations and welcome to Conversations with Atul.
Conversations with Atul.
He saw Naxalism real up close when a dear friend joined the movement and was killed by the cops. He studied in a school so steeped in religion that he became an atheist who refused to do his mother's shraddh. He cracked the IIT and instead of going abroad, ended up recording and designing sound in films. In the first part of my conversation with Professor Emeritus and film sound recordist Indrajit Neogi, we conversed about a childhood surrounded by systemic violence, an orthodox schooling that pushed him in the exact opposite direction, and naughty memories of rushing to read racy paragraphs in novels during school breaks. Please welcome Mr. Indrajit Neogi, a man who believes that if you look at things from a right perspective, things eventually work out. Hi, I'm Atul Taishete, and welcome to my show, Conversations with Atul. Hello, everybody. Today we have a very special guest. His name is Mr. Indrajit Neogi, and I have met him and I've been fascinated by his life so far. And we've been discussing about things which I think I normally don't discuss with other people. So I thought, why not get him as a guest and see? Now he has this amazing background. He's an IIT guy. Then he went to the Film Institute. He's my senior from the Film Institute. He's done a lot of films as a sound engineer and a sound recordist. And now he is wholly into academics. And he has this unique perspective on what Gen Z is about today, I mean, because and whenever I talk with my friends, they always have this because we belong to a certain generation. And I think we are a generation which is sandwiched between the Gen Z and, the older generations when there was nothing, no resources. So we are that generation. And I find a lot of my friends or a lot of people that are around me cribbing about very young people. But I think Mr. Neogi has a completely different perspective on it. So that is something which I'll talk about too with him. And we will now generally talk a lot about sound too, about how important sound is in films. Because what happens and what I feel is very unfair with films is that a lot of credit is appropriated by actors. Most times you feel that it is the actor who is. I'm not talking about the industry per se, but as an audience, one always feels that it is the actor who is doing everything. Whereas there are so many other people, technicians like DOPs, designers, stylists, sound recordists, sound engineers, sound mixing engineers. So there is this whole range of people, like hundreds of other people who are as involved, as important to the process of filmmaking. And my aim with my podcast, one of my aim is to make this very relevant, make an audience feel that understand how important everyone else is also in the process of. Whenever we will have a filmmaking episode, I have a lot of other episodes which have nothing to do with filmmaking, but in filmmaking per se, I'm very interested in trying to make whatever my audience is to understand how important every other aspect in filmmaking is, other than just say acting, because that is the most visible part of that is the part which gets manifested on film. But everybody else is as important and they contribute as much to the film that you see and the film that you like. So Indrajit Neogi sir, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
And I'm so happy to have you on the show because I think we had this amazing conversation yesterday, and I felt I have got to get this man on the show. So I'll just start off the show the way I generally start off all my shows.
Yeah.
Is that what I feel today in this country? I see this people talking about things which are like 700 years old and say कि 700 साल पहले कौन आया देश में, अभी 700 years back who came now, why did they do that when it was 700 years, why did they come from some other place? But what I feel and what I find very what people don't realize is that eventually all of us are migrants. Even my family is a migrant because my parents were somewhere in Konkan about 3-4 generations back. My mom was in Konkan, and then they came to Bombay, they came to Thana, and now we have a house in Thana. My parents still live in Thana, I still stay in Bombay. So I've also migrated, say, from Thana to Bombay, if you have to look at it like that. So for me, it is. I would like to know. Like today, you're in Pune, right? You are the head of a certain institute here, and what is it? How is it that you landed up here? So what I would like you to do is go a couple of generations back because you are from Calcutta.
Yeah.
And how did your parents land up in Calcutta? If you have memories of what your grandparents did and how did they? So if we can just hear you on that.
Yeah. Actually, in Bengali we call it Desh, and which is your the homeland. But I'm born in Calcutta. And
Desh as in you mean as in the country?
Desh,
or?
ना, Desh means अपना गाँव जिसको बोलते हैं.
Okay.
In Bengali they call it
Right.
আমার দেশ. When you say the word desh actually you mean that तुम्हारा देश कोথায়?
Oh,
Basically
wow.
आपका
Okay.
गाँव किधर है?
Okay.
And I have never been to, actually, I've been only once in that village. Because my grandfather,
Where is that village?
it is close to Calcutta, not very far off, 2 hours drive, next to Bandel. Bandel is a important railway station. उससे next station जो था हुगली. हुगली नदी जो है ना उसका नाम से हुगली शहर बोल के एक जगह था, उसका एक गांव था कोदालिया ग्राम. So I'm from that village, but I have been only once there. My grandfather moved out. I think my grandfather's generation should be the first generation of education happened. Then I don't know.
But there were farmers there in that town, or what were they doing?
I assume so. I think everybody was farmer. I don't know. I've never really explored that part of my life. Actually, if you ask me, I don't know my caste.
Oh, really?
Really, because there's one very interesting thing which happened in Bengal in our time. We actually never discussed caste. And I don't know my caste. Actually, it's true. And if you ask me what is my caste, I don't know. Only thing I know, because I heard from my mother that I have a gotra called Shodgop. Whatever it means, I don't know. But इससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं है.
But do you have a generic idea about whether you are an upper caste or a lower caste or a middle caste?
No, definitely not Brahmin, not upper caste. Lower caste, how low, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe whether I'm a SC/ST also, I don't know, because I think recently we had a discussion in my family, and somebody told that we are actually SC/ST, but I really don't know, because
So
we
no
never
idea about your caste.
I don't know my caste.
Wow. That is a rarity in this country.
Yeah, and which is great.
Absolutely.
I think when I look back,
even I didn't know about my caste, honestly, for a long
I think
time.
it's a good thing, because in Bengal that time that culture already came in.
Yeah.
Like in my school, which is I am from actually
Yeah.
Purulia Ramakrishna Mission School,
Right.
where and it's a very Hindu Orthodox school,
Right.
Ramakrishna Mission School.
Right.
We studied in a very strict environment, but nobody was aware of each other's caste.
Wow. Wow.
Nobody
Wow.
was.
This is a very Bombay thing, actually. So, because what happens in Bombay is that I was 17. I think I had no idea what my caste was. I didn't even care. It's like you never.
Nobody
between
cared,
friends,
nobody
you never
discussed,
discussed.
nobody asked.
Nobody
even in our conversation,
Yeah.
that never came.
Yeah, that's very true.
Bas.
That's very true.
we are just growing up in an environment. Which is, but इधर आने के बाद मैंने सुना यूपी में पहले पूछता है आपका caste क्या
UP,
है?
बिहार में. This
बिहार
is
में
very
caste
true.
क्या है? But something
No,
which
like,
is, the
this is-
concept is very strange to me.
Yeah, but this is I was watching some program, and this was before the Bihar elections, about 10 days before the Bihar elections, and this guy was going around, this reporter was going around asking everybody what is happening and who will you vote for, whatever they were asking. So everybody was saying, "What is your name?" "My name is this caste." So he said, the reporter said, in Bihar, it is like this, that every time you take your name, you also tell which caste you are. Which is like, I mean, it says a lot about a state or a country, I guess. So, sir, we'll just quickly, so what your grandfather did was he studied.
Grandfather, then he moved out of the village. I think my grandfather, not his father, my grandfather moved. And then for some reason he settled down in Madhya Pradesh.
Madhya Pradesh.
Yeah, in Raipur. And he was a school teacher.
Okay.
And then he became the school headmaster. Those days, I think they used to use the word headmaster. He was school headmaster. So there was and I remember that one of his student was M. Hidayatullah. M. Hidayatullah used to be the Chief Justice of India. And
Oh,
for
really?
one brief period, I think he was acting president. Those days, I think after Zakir Hussain's death, or he was become acting president. And it is one story that those days they were very respectful to their teachers. And when Mr. Hidayatullah came back to Raipur, actually he came after being Chief Justice. He came to my grandfather's house and touched his feet. So it is like one of those stories you talk.
No, no,
I
but
mean, my
it
grandfather
says-
used to told us that this is what happened, and everybody used to feel very proud about it. So
It says a lot about the times also. No?
yeah, that is definitely. I mean, there was the relationship with the teacher used to be very different those days, and
Right.
it was the Guru Shiksha जो परंपरा वो जो इंडियन भारत में वो एक परंपरा जो है tradition जो, and people looked at teachers very differently, with much more respectful, which doesn't happen nowadays that much. Then
I'll just tell you a small incident
Yeah,
here
yeah.
because this is what happened with my mother. Like every year we go to Hariharish. We used to go to Hariharish for some years back, and Mangaon, there is this just before you reach where you take the right up to Hariharish on the Bombay Pune highway. There is a resort, Umbrella or something, Open Umbrella, I think. So my mom went in, and she was a teacher. She was a primary school teacher in Thana, and there was this guy kept on staring at her. There was a waiter who kept on staring at her for a long time. Then he came and he asked my mom, "Oh, are you Taishete madam?" that.
Acha.
And then he went and touched her feet, and then they stayed in touch. Jadhav, his name was. So it is like, I mean, those kind of things where after like almost 40 years, that kid must have been 14, maybe 45 years. That kid still remembered my mom,
Yeah.
which was an amazing thing to notice about somebody. Yeah, sir. After that, what happened then? After Raipur?
So what happened, what is very interesting thing, though all my grandfather's children, there are 5 brothers. My father was the third one. So there was a lot of stress on education. I think that generation actually took pride
Education.
in being educated, and they all took their studies very seriously, and all of them become. My father was an engineer.
But what was the home situation that he could afford to send us? He was a teacher, right?
He was a teacher, but he ensured that everybody goes to good school and get education. That much. I mean, I don't think there was any luxury other than that. But education was not compromised.
But your father has grown up in Raipur.
He spent some time in Raipur. After that, he stayed in Calcutta. He actually got his main education from Calcutta, where
right.
he used to stay in his Mamar Bari,
Right.
in his uncle's house,
Right.
my mother's brother's house.
Right.
So my grandmother's side was a very business family.
Okay.
In Calcutta,
No, this Raipur thing, sir, why I asked you is because when I was doing my MBA in the summer training, I was in Raipur for 8 days.
Okay.
And it's really a very small place. So it's very difficult to get at least in then, I don't know how it is now.
Now
But
Raipur has changed.
yeah,
Raipur,
yeah. So this
Raipur is quite
it's almost
modern nowadays.
25 years
Because
back.
I recently had to cross through Raipur and I saw that Raipur is quite.
Right. So it seemed like a small
No,
town.
no, it is
So
not anymore. Doesn't have that small town look.
yeah. So from there he went to Calcutta. And your
My
grandmother-
father went to Calcutta, so he spent all his childhood in his uncle's house, and that is where they all studied. They went to good school called Hare School, which was supposed to be one of the best schools in Calcutta those days. So पैसा नहीं था, लेकिन एक एजुकेशन वो एक अप्रोच था towards education. And I mean, want to be, and that happened not only in our family. I think it has happened in that particular generation that Bengalis took value in education, saw value in education. I mean, paisa nahi hoga chalega. And especially when I grew up, I mean, everybody used to take pride in being educated. It was a priority. But बाकी कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा है, मेरा our children should study well. I mean, they can eat not fancy food. They can sacrifice on many other things, but there should not be any compromise on education. That was very much part of our culture, our generation that time. And that's what happened. So, so I was born in Calcutta. And after that, my father got a job in Durgapur. So he shifted to Durgapur.
Where did he do his engineering from? You have any idea?
He did it from what he did is he studied in Calcutta. After that, he went abroad.
Oh, really?
He went to England and he was in Germany and he studied there for 5 years and then he came back.
Okay.
But his that higher education life is in abroad.
Wow.
Was abroad.
So, but he was on a scholarship, or he was.
I don't know whether it was, because I remember he borrowed some money from his uncle to go there.
Okay.
Some 5,000 rupees he borrowed from his
Wow.
uncle to go there.
A lot of money
I
than
think
5,000
those days
rupees.
5,000 was a lot of money that took care of his
Could buy a house in 5,000.
initial travel and everything. And he was there there for 5 years. Then he came back.
Do you know his story there? I mean, like how he managed to survive and.
He was working also.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that he was totally independent. He was
Yeah.
not like my grandfather was sending him money or anything like that. He managed. But it was not I don't think it was a degree course. Like the way we look at it. I mean, like now you do engineering from IIT or engineering from here or there. It was, I think, the series of diploma courses he did.
Okay. In
So,
Germany.
In Germany and in England. I think one course he did in England, one course he did in Germany. And after that, he was like as good as a qualified engineer. But then he came back. He was working in Calcutta, Jessup company. There used to be a company called
Jessup. Yeah, I know.
He was working there, and I was born in '56 in Calcutta. Then he shifted. To Durgapur, which was just upcoming industrial town which is coming
The
up.
steel. It was a steel center, right?
Yeah,
Durgapur.
primarily steel,
of
steel
the
factory.
country.
But there used to be a lot of allied industries around the steel factory. And he was working in something called the Mining and Allied Machinery Corporation.
Okay.
We have our own. It was quite interesting. My childhood is actually, there used to be forest all around us.
Oh,
And
wow.
in between there was a small township and very, totally self-sufficient. We used to have a school there and we used to have a playground there. I had grown up in open air. And we used to have a big house. So
So it was a community kind of living, gated community, if you can call it what we can now call.
township.
A township. Yeah, that's a township. That's the word.
Township concept.
That's the word. Jamshedpur.
Durgapur. They are townships.
The township. So there is a company which goes there, which sets up a factory, and then it also sets up a township for all its
Township around it.
employees.
So all the workers, the employees, they stay there. They
Yeah.
provide their building. So there was a township. There will be a school and everything. But when I went that time in our township, that there was the school was not still constructed. So I had to go to Durgapur Steel Plant School.
Okay.
So we used to travel 7 kilometers.
Wow.
And I used to have morning class at 6:30 in the morning, and I remember I used to get up by 4:30, and then for sometimes there was a school bus, sometimes we used to travel in a public bus. You know, like we to the nearest bus station was 15 minutes walk from our house. And I used to walk in the morning, and it was dark. And
4:30.
Four by the time it was 5:15,
Yeah, but
so
it's
that we
dark.
can reach school in before 6:30. The 6:30 was the bell.
It's also time zone thing in that side, no? It's also an hour. Uh, that's also there, right?
No. India has a fun one.
No, but it gets darker.
That's because it's closer to
No, we
east.
should have a time zone. We don't have
We
one.
don't have a time zone.
We don't
It's
have a time zone.
because
but
the
Calcutta-
closer to eastern side, the
Right.
sunrise happens much earlier and sunset also happens much earlier.
Yeah, that's
There's
why you had school at 6:30.
There's almost
Because otherwise in Bombay we have schools at 7:30. That's
there
why.
used to be at 6:30 because by the time by 5 there was sunlight.
Right.
Even summer, to by 4:35 there was sunlight,
Sunlight.
and in winter maybe the light will come by before 6.
Yeah.
Here when it's almost 1 hour time difference from Bombay to Calcutta, that way. But we follow the same clock. So I grew up in that environment. Nice, lots of big playground. I used to play football, I used to play cricket, and a lot of activities, physical activities used to happen. There's nothing else. There's a life which is you go to school and you come back. And we used to have a big garden. So I used to spend my afternoon, morning school, come back, and after having my lunch, the whole afternoon I spend in the garden. And I was allowed to go out and play only after 3:30 or 4. And then you go and play for 1.5 hour or 1 hour. Then it was compulsory that you had to come back home before sunset. Before darkness, we have to be back home.
Yeah.
And then, so that way, my father was quite disciplinary. So not like our children where they are playing till 9 p.m. That was quite unthinkable those days.
But there was also forest around, right? So there were
There
animals.
was forest around.
There were animals around? Or?
There were. I know one story that they found a tiger. Somebody. That's the story. I don't know whether it actually happened. There was a sal forest. It's a forest, but other than that, we used to hear these calls. Oh, fox. In the night, we'll hear those fox howling and all these things. And there were a lot of snakes.
Yeah.
There were a lot of snakes.
Poisonous snakes.
Cobra and everything were there. I mean, I remember it entered a house also once. So one has grown up with nature. We are been very quite comfortable.
Yeah.
And there has to be like those scorpions and all kinds.
Inside the house.
Yeah. In the garden you will find all kind of things. I mean, and so I have never been scared of those things. We have grown up with all these things. We knew. I mean, there will be chameleon in our garden, and often they're entering the house also. You know, suddenly there will be chameleons going around. Squirrels, so there are plenty. Birds, all kind of birds. Butterfly.
Wow.
Grasshoppers. So it was. I have grown up in that environment. Then what happened is that the Naxalite movement started, which is around late 60s. I'm born in 56. I came to Durgapur in 63, and 63 to 65, 66 are those period which I have got lovely memories of. And then by 67, the Naxalite movement picked up in a big way, and the life was not same anymore.
What was the Naxalite movement? Because I think a lot of people in this generation don't really understand. They hear these words like urban Naxals and whatever, which is all really a stupid thing to call anybody. But
What is the Naxalite
what
movement?
is actually the Naxalite movement then? What was it about in Durgapur, for example?
Okay, let's put it like this. It was basically a movement against anti-establishment movement.
Yeah.
That people were basically unhappy with certain things the government was doing, and there was a movement. And so there are
But this were the Adivasis, right?
Originally, it started with Adivasis. It started with because it is there was a feudal culture.
Right.
Though the left movement, the communist, left movement was quite strong in Bengal. Almost, left parties was existing from post-independence onwards, when we knew that the left parties, but like CPM and CPI. But there were, but still there were landless laborers, and the environment was very feudal. The zamindari system was
The zamindari system, basically.
was also quite strong. So this movement started against that. And originally it originated
Which
in
also started somewhere in, say, Madhya Pradesh and in Uttar Pradesh and all, which was a form of dacoitry, I think, where a lot of dacoits were actually people who were marginalized, and then they took up arms, and then
Yeah.
they became. But in the
yeah. So it. I was too small that time.
Right,
Frankly speaking,
absolutely.
I didn't understand that time anything. Only thing, there will be posters all over. There will be slogans, and the whole system which is existing, the education system, got disrupted quite badly. And eventually, though it started with quite a definite purpose, but afterwards it became very lumpen by nature. It's become very destructive by nature. I remember that
became very destructive.
destructive.
Okay.
Our school library was burnt.
Library was burnt.
Library
Oh,
was burnt.
Bapre.
And we are just students in class 6, class 7, that young. And at that age group, you love distraction.
Yeah.
You love breaking things. For whatever reason, you get
Right,
some
right.
kind of a pleasure in
Right.
damaging things.
Right. Well, at a certain age,
So
yes.
what happened because of these things, suddenly that our age group become very, like हम लोग स्कूल पब्लिक बस में जाता है, बस का सीट कवर को फाड़ दो, फैन है, फैन को निकाल लो.
You also used to do it.
I never used to do that much, but yes, it used
to
to
sit and
happen in
clap.
front of me. But I was not very critical of that also.
Critical
because,
of it.
but I was, because of my strong.
But I think this is something which is, I think, more to do with what you said earlier, that a certain age.
A certain
because
age.
my first episode is with this lady called Janvi Saman. And she said that our school was such a khachar school. What we used to do was the students used to go and bend the fan blades.
Yes.
She says, bend the fan blades.
Yeah.
Aisa like this.
Like I'll come to that. Like all our school furnitures were slowly broken. Every table,
Vandalized.
every chair, it's total vandalism, and it took over.
But
And
you
that
think
is
that
the
is-
sad part of Naxalite movement. What happened, that it led to this kind of a
Okay.
very extreme behavior
Amongst children.
amongst children, which people got out of it also. It is not that, they remained like that. They got out of it, but that age group was very destructive. But we become, and during that period, for example, I'll give you, and also a lot of disrespect to teachers happened that time. Suddenly people were, whatever is the system should be destroyed.
Destroy.
And how you take up, so the class teacher used to represent that system. So
Right.
what students will do, and I'm talking about in class 6, class 7, those days there used to fountain pen, and you throw ink.
Yeah, I know. We used to do that.
We used to throw ink on the teacher's shirt.
From
And
behind.
by the time that teacher is going out of the class, his whole kurta is full of ink. And he may not have realized also. Because it's always, whenever he's writing something on the board with his chalk, and people are throwing ink.
Bapre.
So this is, I'm ashamed of. Right? When I think of, and I have been actually part of that.
Yeah, but you were a
thing.
kid. I mean,
I was a kid,
I
but
don't
yes,
take
I
it-
was. It was not a very happy feeling. Let me tell you.
Today.
Today, and also even that time, there used to be a lot of violence. There was basically in West Bengal there are two political parties. There was a left group,
And the
Congress, and there is this CPIML, the Naxal, the more extremist group which is coming up at that small level. So there will be fights. In school, suddenly you see the group of children are fighting with each other. Those used to be quite a violent fight.
Yeah.
You know, school children of age of 13, 14, they're fighting with each other. And serious fighting.
What kind of fightings?
Fighting means वो बेल्ट निकाल के मार रहा
मार रहा है
है,
एक दूसरे
डंडा लेके मार रहा है.
As a group fight.
Group fight, sometimes individual fight. And then what happened is a lot of murder started taking place.
Between these children.
These children and also little older children. There will be every day you'll hear that somebody got murdered and somebody is like a death and violence was become part of your day-to-day life. And in that environment, I spent my class 6, 7, class 6, class 7, class 8, those 3 years. And you are actually, internally you are very tensed. Because, I mean, whatever it is, we are not comfortable with violence. And when it was happening and you hear, and the worst thing I happened, which this has happened during, when by that time, my father sent me to hostel. Because class 7, class 6, class 7, class 8 happened all promoted because there was no exam. So everybody was open copying.
Like now with the pandemic.
So nobody could even judge who is the better student or not. So in the last day of the school, all the students will be called and it's all promoted to next class. No
Wow.
mark sheets, nothing. So it happened for 3 consecutive years. And then...
And this was because of the Naxalite movement. That's what you're saying.
I won't say it is because of the Naxalite movement. I said that this finally happened. It got triggered by Naxalite movement. Maybe there was a...
Because how I understand this, let me just rephrase this, is that if there was a Naxalite movement when you were in Durgapur, okay, and it started off well because it started off with a certain purpose. It started off with a very definite
and then
purpose.
it fizzled out and
then it became a complete free-for-all.
Yeah.
Where
it became free-for-all.
Where violence and
Violence
everything
took over.
became, where the political parties got involved too.
Involved into it, and there was a random killing.
And then
was
the
happening.
whole mindset
Yeah.
of that whole society. I mean, that is what I'm coming to actually.
Yeah.
That the mindset of an entire society changed at that point in time, where murders and violence became a part of your life.
Yes.
And it became a part of your thinking process and became a part of your culture. Is that right? Is that the right way to put this?
Absolutely.
Because I'll tell you something, is because I wrote a film on somebody, because it's written for my producer Amit Agarwal, with somebody, about somebody. It's a biopic of somebody in a way. Not a biopic, I mean, so whatever it is. So what I noticed is that in Bengal, people throw bombs at each other. I have not heard this in any other, like within gangsterism in Bengal, in particular even in Calcutta, in a city like Calcutta, people make crude bombs and they throw bombs at each other. Which
that was quite common.
Which is so strange because I have not heard this anywhere, that people are making bombs somewhere and throwing bombs at each other. But this is a very Bengal thing.
Especially in Calcutta, I remember that. But the life was going on. There is people are throwing bombs and people are getting killed on the other side of the street, and the life is quite normal on this side of the street.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a very strange coexistence because people have to survive.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of this, like now what is same thing happening in Ukraine. Maybe, I mean, soon it will come back to some kind of a normalcy.
Barabar.
Or even whole Middle East. I mean, there's wars going on for years and years and years. But uska beech mein people have to survive. So it was almost like that. But except that there was no big war happening. But it was a lot of violence at a small level was happening.
Right. But this was happening in Bombay too, sir, during the gangster era in the 80s, where people were getting shot on the streets. Like the gangsters were killing each other on the streets. Saath mein people are doing that.
But the main difference is it was a gangster thing. There it had a political color.
Right.
That is the main difference.
Yeah.
The violence was same, but there the violence was been very controlled by gangsters for underworld, and where there it has like CPM will kill Congress people, Congress will kill CPM, CPM will kill Naxal, Naxal will kill CPM, and it is all those things.
And it's all intersecting with the common man.
Intersecting with the common man.
Right. Okay.
So from there, my father put me into...
Because he thought that this is the wrong...
He thought that and also I'll tell you a story. Couple of my friends with whom I used to play football, and my township friends.
Right.
And he was 2 years elder to me. And I remember that one day the news came that...
He was your friend, this
boy?
boy?
He was my friend. Friend matlab, We used to play together.
Yeah. So he was
I
a
mean,
friend.
not
I
friend,
mean, at
friend.
what that age when you
nah.
make friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was 2 years senior to me. He kind of joined the movement. He got arrested. He was sent to Hazaribagh jail, and they tried to escape from the jail, and he was shot dead.
Okay.
And it was quite. I mean, the first time somebody whom I know personally well.
It hit home. It hit home.
It kind of
That's what happened.
that he died. I remember his name is. I think his name is Shomnath. I don't know if we used to call him Shomnath Da. So he died, and I mean that time I was in class 8. He must have been class 10. So how old? 8 months,
15,
13.
and you were
8 months,
13, he was
he must have
15.
been 15, 16 maximum, not 15.
He was 15, yeah, 15, 16
And that is
probably.
the time he was shot dead. Because he was trying to escape the jail. And there's, I think 6 of them died.
I'm just trying to understand this. What kind of a person was he? In the sense that what do you think made him join the moment? And what kind of a person was he? And what kind of people join a moment which is so violent? Which, matlab, do they feel marginalized? Do they feel what? Or it's just a fashion at that point in time?
Look, he is a middle class boy. His father was my father's colleague. Because
Oh,
we're
really?
township. Yeah, it is township.
It's in the township. Yeah.
He was his father was my father's colleague, I think, and there is no news for him for quite some time. I think he was not there, and I think he was told that that he was sent to him somewhere else. He was not staying there in Durgapur for few months, and then this news came. So
Wow.
what happened? Whether he ran away from the house, then he was in hiding, and so there's a lot of these small things were happening all over.
So how he ended up there is a story that we are not really.
I don't know, because I was not
Right.
in touch with him for those last
But
few
it seems
months.
like something like someone who's just been attracted by a movement
Yes,
rather
yes,
than
yes, yes.
you know, understanding the relevance.
Not understanding
The relevance of the
anything,
moment.
the relevance, the significance, why or the cause.
Right.
It is like a protest.
Yeah, and it's like that young blood, 15-year-old.
Plus, and you got excited with that protest.
Yeah, and maybe
I
you
have
looked
to-
up to someone in that
and,
moment.
and it was generally whatever is existing is wrong, and we have to protest.
Yeah,
Not knowing what we are protesting against, why you are burning books. I mean, I remember our library was, and all the students got pleasure by destroying the books.
but
It
it
was
was, who destroyed the library?
school children
School children burned down the library.
burned down the library,
Burnt it down.
burned it down, put fire. Somebody mastics लगा दिया, उस आग लगा तो मजा आ गया. ये किताब से वो किताब लगा दिया, वो किताब. Management couldn't do anything, and within few minutes the whole library was burned.
Wow.
So there was I mean, I'll tell you something more. I mean, this is then I went to hostel, and I was totally in a orthodox Ramakrishna mission.
From at 8th standard, you shifted to the
No,
wrong
8 nahi. It was 9.
9th.
And I had to repeat 9, because what happened that in 9 when I went and still nothing was improving, my father decided to shift me to a hostel. And so, and in Purulia you have to join in 9. I can't join in 10. So I had to I had to lose 1 year and join Purulia Ramakrishna in class 9.
Purulia Ramakrishna.
Ramakrishna
Mission.
which is supposed to be one of the best school in West Bengal now, and even that time also it was one of the reputed school, and now so lot of toppers used to come from that school and all that. It was a very, very different environment altogether from here.
Completely different.
Completely different. It was totally residential. You have to stay there. You have to under strict discipline. Quite orthodox. We have to get up in the morning. We have to go for prayer, which is compulsory. We have to get up again there at 4:30 in the morning, and then after that we have to do PT. After that, the compulsory study hour. Then you have to go, and in between you have to do. We as a student, we have to do our jharus and everything. We have to clean the hostel ourselves. So we have to wash our own clothes. And then school, then you have to play games. then again evening prayer, and during the evening prayer you have to wear dhuti Punjabi, which is used to be our traditional dress, dhotis and kurta. And then at 11 o'clock sharp, light off, so you go to sleep. So it was continuous study, or in between playing games, or doing your hobbies, or doing some cultural programs, and in between their prayers. And it was a non-stop. It was like like for 3 years of my life, I went on like that. And
So it was more like what you would call like a machine rather than something which gave you the, is that what you're trying to say, or am I wrong there?
uh, kind of a machine, but at the same time it was
Because you came from an environment where you said that you were surrounded by forests and you had this whole open view of learning. If I understand this right, okay, please
Yeah,
correct me.
yeah.
And where you had this whole open view of what life is, and you're learning from nature, you're learning from things around you. And then there was this more structured way of learning, which is, well, let's not call it machine, but let's call it a more structured, very, very structured way
more
of. Yeah. So, how did that affect
and also
you?
very strict.
Very strict. So,
very
obviously-
strict discipline.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you have to do this.
Right.
There's
right.
no way I can say that I won't do
Right.
it. Then I'll be rusticated from this.
Right.
You know, that fear, that pressure was very strong. And it got ingrained into me. But very straight, what has happened that during that stay, but whatever, how much and I'm telling you, I'm very grateful to that place also, because he's brought in certain discipline in me. Like, for example, at that age group, you were at 11 o'clock, light off, but by 4:30 in the morning you're awake. So your actually sleeping time was not
5.5
more than
hours.
5.5 to 6 hours. Okay, after that you are actually continuously working, doing something or other. The kind of output, my most productive time in my life is those 3 years. I not only academically I did quite well. My hobbies all flourished. I represented my school team in 3 sports: cricket, football, and hockey. I did theatre for the first time. A lot of other colors. I did debate and elocution and every possible things jo hota hai. You know, it used to be non-stop doing something or other. So it is very, and on top of it, practically I finished all the books in the library. Bengali literature.
Right.
I read Sharat Chandra, I read Rabindranath, I read Bankim Chandra, I read, you name whoever whatever the books, they will keep it in the library, in a school library. Practically we read everything. And not only that, there are some adult books. Like, for example, there is to be Sharat Chandra's Grihodhao or Charitrahin. These are the books which is children are not supposed to read because it has got adult content. But we used to have Sharat Chandra Rachanabali, which these are the books we can't issue in our name. But library used to have those Rachanabali. In that, one of that book, that novel will be there. So we used to go there every day tiffin time. We used to have 20 minutes tiffin time. So we will quickly eat our tiffin in 5 minutes, then run to the library, get that book out, read for 10 minutes,
But
then come back. And that is how we used to finish the novel over 2 months. 10
The
minutes,
adult
10
novel.
minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. These are actually big fat novels.
That the adult novel. You're
Adult
saying.
novels. That
So,
is
but
how
I want to just understand this. I mean, because you were also a teenager then. Were you reading it more as a literary classic or more as soft porn?
They are not soft porn. I won't call
No,
it.
but in your head, I'm telling you
yeah,
as a teenager.
in the head, it is a curiosity.
So it
They're
was a kind of a.
talking about extramarital relationships
Right,
and
right,
all kind of
right.
things which as a
Like what-
child you are not supposed to
Right,
discuss or
right,
talk.
I got it.
But you are curious.
So like when we were
and
kids.
that was the only way we could do it, because they would
Right.
issue those books in our name, but they're actually classics. But
Yeah, they are
famous.
classics, absolute
And
classics.
but we read.
But I'm
That is
saying
how
that
we
as a
read.
kid, what are you, as a teenager, what are you reading it as? That's my only.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like what we used to do was read Debonaires, which was a magazine where there were topless.
Everything those came much later.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm saying that so for you at that point, because these kind of options were not there. So there's that curiosity about about the gender, about sex, about these, we used to get manifested through these novels by one of the biggest literary classic writers of all times, Sharad Chandra Babu. So that is what was happening in a way. What I found fascinating about your story, honestly, is that when you were in Raipur, and when that Durgapur, sorry, when you were in Durgapur, and when that library burned down, you said that I did not. I may have not enjoyed it. It was not like because everybody was in it. So I was a kid and I didn't really say anything. But once you went to Ramakrishna Mission, you suddenly had this new love for books.
Yeah.
Which is a completely
Absolutely,
flip around from.
absolutely. And that culture was also there. All the students used to read. I mean, some of the students will read more. I was one of those students who used to read practically non-stop. I mean, let's be very frank. Those 3 years, I don't think I ever wasted any minute. You get, like, between the class break, when bell will ring and the one teacher will go out and one teacher will come, there used to be a 3 to 4 minutes gap. In that 4 minutes, we'll read 4 pages. Sat. These are the, and we'll just go quickly, read. And by end of the day, we actually finished a small novel.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
And every day we were doing it.
Right.
And then the major novels of this, which is we can't issue in our name, which we are reading in the long breaks. And then
during the lunch times.
During the lunch time. And करते वो भी करते एक साल में 3 novel पढ़ लिया बड़े. So like.
But I find it honestly fascinating. I mean that you have this story about burning down a library before this, and then suddenly you go to a different institute, and that whole love for books, where you don't want to spend 1 minute of your life without reading. I mean, it's a fascinating flip around. It's a fascinating, I think, irony, if you want to call it, of not irony, but of life, that how it can change just depending on the cultural
when the context, this thing changes, the environment
with the context,
changes,
absolutely, with the environment,
and you as a person,
and the cultural ethos changes. I mean, it's an amazing. It tells you a lot about how children can be made to do something. You also enjoyed that when the library was burning. You didn't say that it's okay, let me go and bring some water and try to pour this down. But so you were also there amongst those kids because they were all your friends. So it was happening. But the moment you changed that place and you came to another place, suddenly your love for books flourished. And it became a part of your life. I think I'm sure that you still love to read. Yes. So that's an amazing thing. And what happened next time?
After that?
Yeah.
Okay, now another very significant thing happened in Purulia was somewhere because of this whole imposition of the Ramakrishna Mission culture, which is, I will now, when I look in today's context, I think it was a much more liberal form of Hinduism than what we see here now in 2022, which is suddenly becoming, I think, but yet I kind of felt very oppressed internally. I mean, that the strict do's and don'ts, and karna padega, religion says this and religion says that, and which by that time in my 3rd year of that stay, when I was in class 11, I refused to do. Saraswati Puja is a very big thing in Bengal.
Yeah.
I mean, in education, the students, Saraswati Puja and that Pushpanjali dena. Puja mein you participate and you actually. And I kind of started questioning. The first time of under strict this thing, some kind of oppressive environment, and also I kind of revolted within. And I said that
because it was imposed upon you. If it was,
I refused to do Pushpanjali in class 11. I said that now, and that is the.
Were you the only one, or were there others?
There were 1 or 2 boys were there. I think I have one more boy, and not. I have only 2 of us. I think did, but rest of the people are. They kind of. I don't think they are. I did that. And that was where I become kind of because the birth of atheist in me happened that time. And then I am still an atheist. I won't call myself agnostic. I'll call myself atheist. Because I think I mean, okay, I'm keeping the God aside, but those religious, the structured religion, I have serious problems.
Structured religions, of course.
I have a very serious
Where
problem.
everything is according
and
to a
I
book
really
and
believe
everything.
that the religion has done much harm to mankind than good. As a concept, it is supposed to do good to mankind, but in reality, I think it has done much. Today, all kind of a problem which is happening all over the world, finally you find their root in religion. I mean, it played a very strong divisive role. It kind of divided the country.
My God is the God. That is,
and
I
know-
find that,
and
I
which
find
is
that
a really
bizarre.
sad part.
If your blood is interchangeable, where if you need a transfusion, a Muslim guy can give it to a Hindu, and a Hindu can give it to a Christian, and a Christian can give it to a Parsi. I mean, how is your God different? I mean, God would have made the bloods different. I mean, it's bizarre, but I mean, that's how we are living, and that's how it is.
And it is the religious structures, whether it is whichever religion, I'm not even mentioning any religion, they are basically created to control human beings.
Right, right,
I think it was basically nothing else but a controlling force.
right,
And it is more or less same whichever the religion you
Right.
name. So I have actually problem with religion,
right.
structured religion. I have no problem with spirituality. Let me tell you, though I am an atheist, but actually I am quite spiritual somewhere deep down.
Absolutely, you don't need to believe in a religion to be spiritual. I mean,
Or
that's,
neither I have to believe in God to
Be spiritual.
To spiritual.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that is something I am spiritual. I believe in spiritual is like a counterpoint of materialism.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. It's the opposite
It's
of materialism. Right.
Materialism, and which I absolutely believe in.
Yeah.
But definitely, I have a serious problem with organized religion. God, to me, is very personal. It's a belief system.
Yeah,
I think I have no problem with anybody who believes in God,
right.
but I don't believe in God.
Yeah. As long as you don't impose your God on me, I don't care.
I don't impose. Please don't impose on me.
Yes.
I remember that when this happened, and this is something I need to talk about, is my relationship with my mother.
Oh, really?
Is that my mother is a very religious person. She was extremely. She used to do puja every day, and whereas her son suddenly, and she used to really was very fond of me. She and I was becoming this. But what happened? Very interestingly, at some point in time I managed to communicate quite well with her. I told that, look, you do whatever you want to do, but don't impose anything on me.
Right.
And I will, as the son, I will fulfill all my responsibility towards you. And I will see that you can. So I used to take her to mandir, take her to puja. If she wants to do some Satyanarayana puja in the house, I'll organize it for herself. But don't make me part of it. I'll just be that backstage worker for you. And I'll do it with lot of dedication and sincerity. There won't be any problem with that.
Right.
But don't.
Because my dedication is to you.
Yeah.
It's not to. It may not be to the God, but
Yeah.
it's to my mother.
Yes. So that's how we managed quite well. And after that, she spent her last many years with me. She came to Bombay and she stayed with me in Bombay. And it worked out very smoothly. And absolutely no problem. And to the extent of, I told her that I won't do your shraddhas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I didn't do it.
Oh, really?
But she stayed with me till knowing it very well that I won't do her trials. She stayed with me. She's died in the hospital. She
Wow.
died in the last day of this thing in the house. It was in my house, in our house, and but she knew about it. I didn't hide from her. I said, "Look, and she was very happy with me. She didn't have that deep down. They say, "Oh my God, mera beta, mera shad nahi karega." She was cool. I didn't do it. I did. I went after her death. We went to this thing. क्या बोलता है, the cremation ground, and we did that. But after that, I said that nothing. And I came back to college.
Did that have any repercussions within your family? I mean, this thing of that you didn't do the shraddh of your mother?
No. I had some lot of problem with my brother.
Okay, how many children are you?
We are five.
You're five.
I have an elder brother. Uh, and we have three sisters. One is elder sister and there are two younger sisters. I had I have differences with my brother, but not on this issue. This issue there was never, for some reason they accepted me as the way I was. Like my brother did Mass Shraddh.
Okay,
He did. He did his own place.
so it's okay. I mean,
He did
yeah.
it his own place.
But you never did it.
I never came. I came out. Same thing happened when my father died.
But you kept her happy. I mean,
I kept her happy.
So how
Definitely.
does
I
it
mean,
matter? I mean,
She
as
was,
long
I don't
as-
think she had any problem with me. So what I mean to say that if you look at things from the right perspective,
Hmm.
things work out.
Things work out.
And you
Right.
can actually be very different person, different way of looking at life, and you still can coexist
Right,
and happily coexist.
right.
The only thing you need to respect the other and give them space.
Right.
So
agree.
I have from there I can say that I have some very simple way of looking at life. And sometimes when you get into this situation where, oh, I don't know whether what I'm doing is right, or any issues which is becoming debatable, controversial, and sometimes at a family level, at a social level, at various levels, I have this concept called IUV.
IUV. That's your concept.
IUV. I mean, it's not my concept. I'm sure it's
No, please
But
illustrate.
what I mean to say that I respect myself. So by default, I respect you also because you respect yourself. When I respect you,
Because you respect yourself.
so I have to, because I respect myself and I believe in myself, you similarly, you have to believe in yourself and you respect yourself. Okay. And as long as there is no severe conflict, I think I and you, we can coexist quite nicely.
I and you. Oh, superb.
So that there's no
Yeah.
and wherever we are overlapping, there will be, because after all we are social human beings, there will be overlap. That's where we come in, and we has to be practiced in a very respectful, democratic way, where I think everybody who are the stakeholders in that way should have a more or less equal say in the matter and decide what is. That is what the social structure should be all about. Like when you form that, okay, this is your, this thing, this is idea, we have to find out the common ground. How much we agree on, let's execute that. Where something which has happened, say, you can exist only at the cost of my negation.
At the cost of me. Yeah.
At the cost of me, then definitely it is a problematic space we are getting into. But we, as long as we can exist not at cost of each other, let's just exist. And respect that space, give that freedom to each other respectfully, and at the same time define us that common space and be. And that's why I believe in common minimum program. And common space is defined by that. What is common? And let's respect that and do it very dutifully. Like you have to be, your social behavior has to be right and appropriate. I can't say that, oh, I don't care.
Right. What I think you mean is what is called in game theory as a positive sum game. Where together, I mean, like if together we have a x and a x, but together it has to become 3x. It doesn't become x plus x is 2x. That is a positive game theory. That is so that is a positive output to it. Like when you're gambling, for example, it is I forget. It's like what happens is that what I win is what you lose. So you have to be a loser for me to be a winner. So that is not what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're talking about something which is like a positive sum
Yes,
game.
yes.
A positive sum game where together we have to contribute and make it far bigger. Like what I believe about society is that, and I think I think we have become so individualistic right
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
is that together we have to raise as a society. Otherwise,
yeah.
it's not going to happen. Otherwise, peace is not going to reign. Nothing is going to happen. I've over the years, I think probably because I went to FTI after that, where I realized that I became more sensitive to the social surroundings around me. And I think that it is important that we have to raise ourselves together as a society. That's why I don't really care about individual things like यार कोई दिवाली में फटाका बजाया या कुछ. I find that stupid. I mean, आपको जो करना है, like people will be having 5 ACs in their house, having a fridge, having 4 cars, and then they'll have a problem with the fataka in Diwali.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes no sense to me.
Yes.
I mean, यार boss, आपको इतना करना है तो आप उस level पे करो ना कि you're raising yourself as a society as a whole. That is where I think
There has to
this
be,
country there is a small problem about where laws are a problem because the laws are different for different people.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's not only about religion. It's about the rich and the poor.
Yes,
It's
yes,
about the
yes,
rich and the middle
absolutely.
class, the poor and the middle class.
Absolutely.
So the laws are completely different for 10
the
10 different
divisions are very, very
yeah, and
strong.
it's different for everybody. I mean,
Like,
if you're a Muslim poor, if you're a Hindu poor, if you're a Muslim middle class, if you're a Hindu middle class, if you're a Christian middle class, if you're a Christian rich, I mean, the rich I think have the same laws, but otherwise, for anybody below, if you're rich, the laws keep on changing for different people. No, I think it's all political end of the day.
absolutely.
Everything everywhere in this country. I mean, it's all political. So beyond a point, I think you can't discuss this also because the answers are all in politics. The answers are not with you and me. If I believe that if you want to ban it or you want to keep it, let it be uniform for every religion, every caste, every subcaste, for everybody. So that we will never have in this country. We have never had anything which is like equal for, if you want to have loudspeakers, have them from 10 to 10 for everybody. Or you want to have them 5 to 5 or 5 to 10 for everybody. So that is where all these, I think, where it's to do with the law and it's to do with the system, I think. You will find that these are lesser problems in developed countries in the West.
Yes, definitely that. And secondly is that, I mean, this is also when we are talking about that we space, and it is like our space.
Right,
And
right.
how do we arrive at that? I mean, is democratic decision is the only answer? Is it majoritarian decision? That way, I think India has done a very wonderful job by calling it democratic republic. Republic basically takes care of all stakeholders. Correct.
Right.
Republic is a constitution, basically primarily a constitution, which is kind of so that majority can't do just because majority wants to do something, they can't do it. There is certain checks and balances for the majority to behave. And that is what, so this whole democratic republic concept, which India has done in 1947, and I'm sure that time the people thought about it. I think it's wonderful.
Because the majority may not be right all the time.
No, not necessarily.
And the minority may not be right all the
No.
time. It's as simple
So
as that.
you need some
Checks and balances.
checks and balances, and some wisdom to get in, and so that. I mean, there are mob mentalities. We know that when the mob behave, how badly they can behave, and mob is majority,
Yeah.
and it is not that majority is always right.
Yeah.
So we have to do that balance.
Mob is exactly what happened with your school library. It's a mob.
Yes.
It's a mob. It's a wrong thing to do to burn down a school library. The people who are burning it down at an individual level, if you went and asked them that is it right to burn down a school library, most of them would say no. Most of them, I'm sure, would say no. But the moment it becomes a mob, then the mob psyche takes over and they burnt down a school library and nobody really had any problems with it as a mob.
Yeah.
As a mob.
Now, mob
but
mentality is a very dangerous. I have seen some mob mentality myself. I mean, I am sure, but this is not in that school, in my college, where there was some problem with the director and there was some kind of a spontaneous strike happened. And this whole so-called one of the best institute in the country, the students went and ransacked director's house, and it was a very crazy. I mean, like how the best of the minds, when they get into that zone, how much they can degrade themselves, and I've seen it myself.
Yeah. No, no,
In
I've
it-
seen it. I've seen
yeah.
it in myself also. I'm not. I mean, I'm sure that whoever is listening in this
Mani,
audience,
you behave
has seen it in
temporarily
themselves.
in insane
Yeah,
fashion.
you can behave temporarily insane. There is no doubt about it, and all of us can do that, given the right kind of conditions, given the right kind of situations. I mean, if it's completely possible. I have no doubts about that at all. So that's so. Now just tell me that this whole thing about atheism that happened in this Ramakrishna school. How did that impact? Did that have any repercussions for you in the school?
No, it was very personal. I don't think there was a repercussion from the school.
So it was not really a conservative school if it did not.
No, they didn't know.
Oh, they didn't know.
How will they know that I'm not? I didn't do the Pushpanjali. It's as simple as that.
But if they had known, it would have had repercussions.
They could have, yeah, there could have been a possible repercussion. How can you do it? How do you don't believe in God? You are basically questioning the whole thing. All these things could have cropped up, but it didn't happen. But yes, I used to go to bhajan. I mean, it is not that because it was absolutely, it was a compulsory to attend prayer. So I used to do that, but sit there quietly. It is not that I was participating in the prayer. I just sit there quietly.
What I think at
And
least
let me tell you, purely, I love those
Culture.
those music.
Yeah. the culture part of religion you love.
The music or even the musical part of it.
The musical.
You know, like for example, I actually love. I enjoy listening to bhajan. I love it. I mean, in the morning, just some bhajan is coming from distant loudspeaker. I like it. I like listening to azan. I enjoy it.
Right.
Actually, because azan has a good azan, not coming through a bad loudspeaker. But if it's azan, I have done a lot of recording of azan myself, and some lovely recording. And azan is wonderful, where every mosque have their own tune of azan, and there's
Their own
something. I
rhythm.
mean, the whole rhythm of azan, and they can be wonderful in the morning when it comes early in the morning from far away. I have no problem with azan, and similarly, I have no problem with some good bhajan coming, or something like that. Yeah, when it comes to a bad loudspeaker, then I have a problem.
Because you are a sound record. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. But it would have had repercussions in your school, and it would have.
Could have had, but I didn't face personally like that.
And
Look,
what-
I am as a person, I don't confront unless it's
Right.
necessary.
Okay.
I am a guy who won't go out of my
So
way to confront.
you're an individual rebel. I mean,
I'm a
you've
very,
rebelled.
I'm a very
You
individual.
don't need to put it across on social posts that I've rebelled.
No. I will
That's
never
it.
put it on a social post. I don't believe in all this.
No, I'm saying even then,
Huh.
you didn't need to declare socially that, boss, I have rebelled. But you are a rebel, and you have rebelled, and it's over for you. And but for you, that rebellion,
I'll tell you.
that rebellion is an internal struggle for you.
It was interesting. I'll tell you an example. When I decided to, because that is the time when it's happening. So we believed in praying to Saraswati because we finally do well academically. And when I did it in class 11, I think class 11 or just before my board exams, I did it. I was internally tensed. Oh my God, I hope it's actually true. And if I'm not praying and it has repercussion on me So, tension, it was not a smooth, like today I can do a lot
Wow.
of things without tension. But that time it didn't happen.
Because it was just the initial part of what you were doing.
Yeah,
And
it
then you were
was
thinking, wow, this is
I
so
mean,
beautiful.
all your life till that time, everybody told to do this, do that, do that,
And
do that.
Saraswati
And
will-
suddenly I'm deciding to protest against it because I'm not finding. I think maybe I had some kind of a scientific way of looking at things, Mane. So I was never convinced to
I got it.
pray.
Yeah.
But to me, now when I look at prayer, to me, prayer has only one significance. Prayer is basically, if you are a well-wisher, हम लोग प्रेयर में बोलते हैं ना भगवान सबका भला करे. If you keep on telling it to yourself, you actually become a little nicer person because you are thinking of
Of everybody.
everybody well.
Oh, so beautiful.
So that's how I look at
that
prayer.
is so beautiful.
So it will make you a little better person.
That is so beautiful.
And that's
That is
how
what prayer should do,
prayer should
actually.
do.
That it should make you into a beautiful person who wishes well for everybody.
Yeah, basically you're wishing well for everybody. You're not praying for yourself. And when you start wishing well for everybody, you think that there is a certain general openness comes in, certain acceptance comes in, and you don't want harm for anybody.
And the universe opens up in
Yeah.
the way that the universe also starts
So that's how I look at it.
conspiring in that direction.
Yeah.
That's what it means. Oh.
Like, for example, when I look at, I think there is I don't believe in God, but there's a need to believe in God.
Right.
Why? Because in our day-to-day existence, there is so much of struggle for common man. Everything is uncertain. You don't know from where your next meal is coming, whether you have got work or you don't have work. You've got hajar problems.
Whether this building will fall on your
Ah,
head
and there is-
suddenly, an earthquake.
And in that, and worst part which is happening now, you have got fewer and fewer friends.
Yeah.
Who is God? God is that intangible well-wisher.
Intangible well-wisher.
Correct?
Right. Right.
You think the God is your friend.
Right.
And you need that friend. You want somebody to be your support system in your crisis.
Yeah.
Because at tangible level, nobody can be, you are not very confident that how many people will support you in your crisis. Who will, but so there is a need to have a God.
Superb. Superb. Yeah, there is a need. There is a
And
the need comes
you,
from
you
there.
actually feel very comfortable if you believe that, oh my God, there is a well-wisher hiding there who wants मेरा भला चाहता है. Because you always believe ना भगवान सबका भला चाहता है.
Right, right. Absolutely.
So there is a need. But at a rational level, when you think about it, I question that. I said that no, there is no, but don't fall into the trap that there is some valuation there. There is no valuation there.
So what I think people don't understand about atheists a lot of times is that atheists don't disrespect your God. You know, I don't know any atheist who disrespects your God, whether your God is Ram or Allah or Jesus or whatever. They don't disrespect their God, your God. They just don't believe in a God.
Yeah.
You know, and if like I know so many atheists who will go, if they go to a puja, they will go and fold their hands and come out. That's it. Kiya, khatam ho gaya uske liye, as a mark of respect to the person's house they are going to. You know, so that that person doesn't feel.
मेरे को कोई भी धर्म में मैं गया, किसी ने अगर प्रसाद दिया, I will happily eat. I love food and I will happily take, whether it is any Hindu thing. I have no problem with all this.
Yeah,
As long as don't force me.
yeah.
एक करना ही, कोई अगर बोलेगा आपको एक करना ही चाहिए नहीं तो पाप हो रहा है, then I will protest.
Right. Right.
It is not pop. Even I don't do it, it's not a pop. I'm not doing anything. It is just that, okay, at a social level, I always accept other people. I will go really out of my way to make yourself comfortable. Till that time, you are not imposing yourself on me.
Got it.
And if you start controlling me, then I'll have a problem. Whoever it is.
Right.
So we have to learn to coexist.
We have to learn to coexist.
Yeah, that is our
And
problem.
because anyway, it's like this, no? Like if I am a hardcore, if I am whatever, if I am some religion, then anyway I'm saying that your God is not my God. So you already have a problem with a certain kind of God anyway. That is how what is happening in the world right now. So you anyway, if every religion has a problem with another God and says that that God doesn't exist or only my God exists or whatever that your personal philosophy is, you're already part atheist anyway. You know, that's my point, that you believe in your gods, you're a theist as far as your God is concerned, but you're an atheist as far as somebody else's God is concerned. So within you resides both a theist and an atheist anyway. You know, there are very few people who are saying either God doesn't exist or all gods exist. Most people have a thing where I am part atheist and part theist anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, sir, what I wanted to get into was that what happened after Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna mission went off pretty smoothly till 11th, right? Or...
Yeah, I did smoothly. Academically, I did quite well. I kind of, I think, become second topper in my school. I become top 100 in my board exams in the West Bengal.
In West Bengal.
That was quite okay, not top 10, but top 100. That
Yeah,
itself
yeah,
is
but
also
that's
not a bad achievement, I will say.
Yeah, it's a lakhs of students and you're a top 100.
Top 100. So I got this to give this merit scholarship, merit certificate or something like that. I got 100 rupees, I remember, from the West Bengal board, in which I bought.
Then they used to get it. Yeah.
So it was
Because paper mein naam aata hai. तो paper mein naam aata hai, तो then there are these small organizations, fathers, friends, society, building society. They used to give us packets of money.
Now this one came from the West Bengal government. This 100 rupees
okay.
I got from West Bengal
Yeah.
government as some kind of a reward for
Right.
being. Then I also, and that period was quite good actually. I got admission to almost all the entrance exams we where I appeared, including IIT. Uh, but where I wanted to go, I couldn't get admission. I wanted to join Indian Statistical Institute, ISI.
Indian Surgical Institute.
Statistical.
Statistical Institute. Oh.
I wanted to join Indian Statistical Institute, where I got selected in the for the interview, but in the interview I didn't make it, and where that didn't happen. So I came to IIT.
But it must have been, it's actually more difficult to get into IIT than to get into the ISI.
No,
right?
no, no. IIT was easier because they are taking more students.
Right.
ISI all over India they are taking only 15 or 16 students, or something like that, 8 or
Right,
which that's
right.
like FTI.
Right, FTI.
FTI admission
very-
is finally you do how good you are not sure whether you'll get admission in FTI or not.
Yeah, because the
Because
seats
the
are very
number
low.
are so limited. Within that there is a quota, this quota, that quota, वो सब होके आपके पास I mean
Yeah.
जो भी होगा
Yeah.
all over India there will be at least 50 good students,
Yeah.
out of which only 8 will get selected. So which 42 unlucky ones will get eliminated, you never know.
No, right now I think 10,000 people give this and only 40 students get selected. That ratio is terrible
it's terrible.
in FTI.
That way
actually.
IIT, if you're good, chances of getting into
Chances
IIT
are
is much higher.
Now that there are 6,000 seats and all.
अभी तो बहुत ही बढ़ गया.
So you cracked the JEE
I cracked the
and your rank was like what?
around 1,300 I think.
1,300. So you
Which is
couldn't-
not a good rank.
No, but
Those
you
days
got-
which was not a good rank.
Yeah, but you got into IIT Kharagpur. Right?
IIT Kharagpur. Yeah.
And what was it? I mean, like, why? But you wanted something else. You didn't get statistics. Then you didn't care. I mean, what my question is.
No, I didn't care. I didn't get statistics, but I did physics. So I was equally. ऐसा नहीं था कि I was moving away from some another
But
statistics.
physics is different from maths, right? I mean, so
After a point, they are quite interconnected also. I mean, like, okay, I mean, so I won't. But
why didn't you do maths then? I mean, why didn't you do maths
why
or
didn't
statistics? Because after, I mean, say a postgrad in a grad in maths
why I didn't do maths in IIT?
or statistics or whatever
No,
else.
there was no statistics subject. There was maths option was there, but we preferred to do physics because the physics was more
You're more interested.
more this thing. But what happened in IIT is that is the phase of nihilism, जिसको बोलते हैं.
Nihilism.
Nihilism.
Of nothing. Nihilism
Of
is nothing.
nothingness. That was the
Of nothingness.
because after coming,
I am hearing, I've read this word so much, and this is the first time I hear someone say this. You know that it's my phase of nihilism. I mean,
after passing out from that orthodox Purulia Ramakrishna Mission,
Right,
what has
right.
happened that I think I was a very different kind of person. I was deep down I was not comfortable, so I wanted to explore the world myself, and that suddenly that freedom in IIT. I mean, it was a drastic jump. In IIT, you got getting a room to yourself. There is nobody to wake you up. There is no compulsory. And those days there was no माने attendance भी नाम का वास्ते होता था.
oh really?
हाँ, माने attendance के ऊपर कोई pass fail नहीं होता था. So suddenly many of us went little berserk.
In IIT,
IIT.
you went berserk.
But, I mean, we started drinking. We started smoking.
And these are all bright minds. I mean,
Bright minds.
academically bright minds.
So
bright
when
minds,
today when people talk, a lot of people say that students are smoking hash and I mean all of us done it. I mean all my friends used to smoke and drink and it was age.
it was an age also, right?
That is the time you want to explore many things and you go and you. So
This
there is
was
the
in- this was in what
morality
year?
attached to it.
This was in what year? This was in 1974.
74.
You joined IIT in 74
74.
as a student.
Yeah. And
But you didn't do the engineering course, the core
no,
engineering.
I was never interested in engineering.
But you could have got it.
I would have got it.
But it didn't interest you. You wanted to do something like in physics. So that's a 4-year course or a 3-year?
3 years.
3 years.
Those just 3 years ago. So what happened, and then um, uh, when I said that there's a that nihilism, my period of nihilism, is that suddenly, and which is a very common trend in IIT that time. Suddenly you go and you realize that you're not interested in making a career. You don't know what you're looking for, but you know that what you're doing is not the
What
thing
you
what
want.
you are wanting. I got into theater and I did Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot.
Waiting for Godot.
Godot. You know, like the nothingness concept came in.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, life is meaningless. All kind of things, and life is not. And you know, Ayn Rand become your hero, the Howard Rourke.
Howard Rourke.
So you know, like they are non-compromising. We used to take that that individualist trip was very strong.
Right.
That I won't compromise. I won't succumb to. I will be my own boss and my thing.
So you become anti-establishment, slightly anti-establishment at that point in time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, slightly means quite.
Quite.
I mean, so hota gaya, बढ़ते गया. Then you are, and maybe it was part of my this thing is that I also get quite driven. I mean, when I study a lot. When I don't study, I don't study at all. Maybe, and I am a bit extremist in my behavior pattern. So एकदम पढ़ाई बंद हो गया, कुछ first year. And then I realized one thing, and this is something which haunts me even now as a nightmare. I really feel like going back to IIT as a student and study. You know, that now I have that desire to, I could have done it.
That you could have used those years better.
Better. It was like a real, that period of nothingness of my life. But I am grateful to that phase also. I think it was very necessary, which helped me to think and shaped my future. So we went to the path of self-destruction at individual level and not at a collective level. I didn't burn anything or damage anything, but I was in that phase of almost like killing myself.
Oh, really?
No, not suicide in that sense, but
In other ways.
In other ways, internally you are going down and down and down and kind
I
of.
mean, what you mean probably is that a part of you is dying every day.
Yeah,
That's
it
what
happened,
you mean.
and then you are kind of losing yourself, and then you realize, like how you collapse academically. I mean, that is the thing I learned. Like suppose I don't do something today, when I'm supposed to do, the pressure builds up. You think that, I'll catch up next year. But it doesn't happen because already you are lagging behind. When you start lagging behind, then it is very difficult to catch up. And I always tell the film students now, do whatever you're supposed to do it today. Don't keep it for tomorrow, because always what happens that when the pressure piles up, then you
Crumble.
can't catch up. I mean, whatever you're delivering is very mediocre.
Yeah.
So there is things, and that is, I think, a very important learning happened there. I realized that, okay, हर चीज़ का एक time होता है. Even time management is a very important thing also.
Right.
We used to believe that, ठीक है, अभी चलो नहीं पढ़ेंगे, कुछ भी करेंगे, next हो जाएगा. हो जाता था, लेकिन उतना अच्छा नहीं होता था जितना होना चाहिए.
Mediocre होता था.
Mediocre होता था बहुत. वो survival game हो जाता था. And you never want to play that survival game after a point. Unfortunately, in our life, most of the time we are playing a survival game. I mean, even in professional life, we play survival game.
Right.
But that is a sad part of our life. Is that kind of so that self-application, self-determination, self-control, this is a very integral part of life. And that is something I realized more strongly going the other way. Like I'll remember when I passed out from Purulia, actually taught me a lot of self-control also. I remember that I just decided that after, I don't know why I decided it, after passing out, after completion of school and the result, उसका बीच में एक 4 महीना का gap होता है ना, 3-4 महीना का gap. So that is the time when you are appearing for all the admission tests and everything. I said that I won't watch any movie during this 4
Months.
And everybody was started smoking that time, and I decided not to smoke. And I easily could control myself not smoking.
When you were 16, 17.
When I was 16, 17, when my friends have started smoking, "Arey yaar, pee le." Those times the smoking is a big thing, and the first time you are becoming like adulthood.
Yeah, yeah.
So
You're rebelling against, against your parents.
But I
actually.
said no, I won't do it.
Yeah.
I did it not for anything else. I did just to tell myself it was a practice of self-control.
मुझे अगर चाहिए तो मैं नहीं करूँगा.
हाँ, वो जो कंट्रोल वो मैं प्रैक्टिस किया था. उसके बाद आईआईटी में जाके क्या हो गया, I lost all my self controls.
Why is that? Why do you think?
I don't know. It's a very interesting. It's a phase. I think it's just kind of a. I think. I mean, I went into a very depressed state of mind or something. I never could motivate myself. I was doing theatre quite a lot, but in studies I couldn't motivate myself.
Would it be a draining of pressure? I mean, what I'm saying is this. Like for me, actually, like I went to a very decent business school. Once I was there, I didn't care. So till I was there, I remember that every day I used to study for 8 hours, at least for the entrances. I used to love studying for the entrances. So every day I used to do maths, English, jo bhi karta tha, wo din bhar I used to do that. But once I got in, I didn't care. You know, was it something like that with you? Because you wanted, like you came from a very rigid, conservative kind of a thing, background. And then maybe that thing about that conservative background was still there inside you in those 4 months.
I think, yeah, maybe that you get used to that structure around you, so that and IIT gives you total freedom. 100, there's nobody to tell you. Even my professor won't tell me that you are not studying. He won't scold me also. Last day kali fail kara dega. He won't call me and said, "Why have you failed? What is wrong with you?" I mean, sometimes I think we as a teacher, we do so much of mentoring here. Whenever the students deviate a little bit, we are all the time, when helping them, telling them, talk to them, motivate them. It never happened in our time.
It didn't happen in the IITs at your time.
Huh? I mean, there was nothing. I mean, like, okay, take it. It's your fail, you fail.
It's your problem.
It's your problem. Nobody told you your problem also. There is some very quiet indifference.
Indifference.
I mean, and I think it took some time for me to understand that finally the ball is on my court. Finally, I have to do it myself.
How do you look at that system today? Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing?
Which?
That where there is this, where the faculty didn't even bother and said that, I mean, if you look at your IIT days again, and said that, okay, now you are coming from this background and you are now completely lost it. Like you're saying, I went berserk. Okay, once you went into IIT and you started smoking, you started drinking, smoking up, whatever. And from like you were really academically very sound. That's why you got into an IIT.
Yeah.
Okay. But once you've landed there.
Let me tell you, it happened with many boys. Many students. I'm
Yeah,
not the
yeah,
only
yeah.
person. There are much brighter students than I am. I mean, it happened. This is a very common problem in IIT in those days. I don't know now. Maybe it is still now also. But it was to be like almost a good section of good students used to go little crazy.
But it's true because there is this web series, I forget the name of the web series, made by TVF, I think, the Viral Fever, that also talks about these things, and there are these 5-pointers and 6-pointers, you know, who don't really care after some time, and these are very bright academic students. They worked there really hard for 2 years to get into an IIT, and the moment they get in, it's like boss abhi ho gaya, abhi next 4 years I'm going to chill, you know. So that's very common because probably it's the pressure. And the pressure that you've taken for so long about getting in. And once you've got in, you say it's okay. And because I faced it myself, I've seen it myself.
It's pressure. It is also some kind of a rebel. AB hota hai, dip down. Somewhere you are unable to. It's a basically lack of. I mean, वो जो बोलता है ना जब इसको when a cow is tied or the calf is tied for too long, and when this is released, they just go berserk for some time and they run.
Right.
They run, and sometimes while running they meet with an accident.
Right. So some of them meet with
Some
an
of them.
accident, and some of them was you also,
हाँ,
amongst other people. That's what you feel.
So वो एक होता है which is also a desire to explore.
Right.
Basically, you go bizarre because you also get into the other end of life, and there is an exploratory mind in you, which we are saying, which eventually helped me.
Yeah.
Somewhere I feel very bad that I wasted those 3 years. I should have studied. Well, I better have done my maybe. But at the same time, also I encouraged myself to
Other things inside you.
other inside you, which finally led me to films. And the way I look at life or the way I understand life now, it has helped me, that experience.
So how was it nihilistic? It was not nihilistic. If you look at it in hindsight, because hindsight
That
is a
time.
great thing. No, it might have seemed nihilistic at that point in time. That's what I'm saying.
That, yeah,
it
now,
might have
no,
seemed but
no.
in hindsight,
No,
when you
no,
went
no,
to
no.
FTI and you did films and you have done so many films.
No. Then I really, and FTI was another turning point for me where I kind of started applying myself.
No,
I
but
got-
what I'm saying is, even your IIT
Huh.
was not really nihilistic. Because if you look at it, that is what opened your mind to certain other possibilities like theatre and whatever else, the sports and whatever else that you were doing then. And it opened your mind to other things because I don't really take academics very seriously anymore, personally. Even after doing so much academically, I feel that ये कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है life में. That's my view. Okay, but I feel that that is what anyway pushed you towards other things which you really enjoyed later.
Yes, but at the same time, I mean, for example, I wish I had studied physics more better. Now that is difficult for me because I lost that opportunity that time. That my for me, almost I feel like going back to. But if I can do it, and if my intellectual power can let me do it, I don't mind being a student of a science student again for some time. Because I wanted to do something, I didn't do it. I mean, it's all about you want to do something and finally whether you're doing it or not.
But what is stopping you? I mean, I don't buy that, because I feel that if you want to do something, you should just go and do it. Like, you may have not used that opportunity then, but there is nothing which stops you.
No, nothing stops you. It's just
And
that you
right
have-
now, I think education is so democratized
Huh.
that it's all on YouTube. I mean, that's what I say. That why do you need to? You don't need to. If you want to learn, you don't need to go to
you don't
a
need to
school.
go college, of course.
You don't
and
need to
I
go to
want
any
to,
school.
Yeah, that is one desire is still
You go
in
to
me.
schools. You go to schools nowadays only for the brand. Maybe because some company wants it. Like if I went to Jamnalal Bajaj. So there were a lot of great companies which come there and hire you because you are in Jamnalal Bajaj or because you are in an IIM Ahmedabad. That's how it works. That's why you go to that schools. If you want to actually learn about management, about marketing, I mean, you can see thousands of entrepreneurs who are extremely successful and never went to film school, to
Yeah,
business schools at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
Thousands of great directors who never went to film school. So education is now all
Yes.
democratized from
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
At least in the
absolutely.
last 15 years, it's
Absolutely.
completely
It is,
democratized.
it is-
Today you have no excuse.
It is very much possible to learn so many things not being part of an institute.
Exactly.
It's possible.
Exactly.
Absolutely possible. And that's a very good thing which has happened. And yes, but I still have that desire. Sometimes I feel that let me go and study my college physics again, which I have not done it.
Let's come to this towards the end. But what I want to know is that now from here you went to FTI, right? Or what was it? You got a job there?
No, that 1 year was another phase where I didn't know what to do.
So you
and,
finished your IIT
the
and
graduation
you
and-
didn't take campus placement. So were there
No. In physics, there was no campus placement. Then
Okay.
generally people go for post graduation and
Okay.
other things, but I didn't go for.
So they go abroad normally for postgrads.
Or even in IIT, you can do post graduation in India
Okay.
also. There are various colleges. But I didn't do it. I knew that not happening with me. So I was looking for a new thing. And then film happened. Because in IIT I was doing a lot of theatre. And then film became some kind of extension of theatre
Right.
to me. And that's how I came to film.
So what happened there? I mean, how did you land up in FTI? Who told you about all this? And
I think by the time FTI, people have started talking of FTI. You read somewhere here, there's a film institute. I think film institute was just that time only 10 years, 15 years old. Not more than that. So you came to know about it. So we applied. I applied for FTI.
Immediately after your graduation.
After graduation, I applied. But first year, I applied for integrated course because I wanted to be all along director. I never wanted to be a sound recordist. Then what happened that I got selected for the interview, but in the interview I was not selected.
In the final
But
list, you were
final
not-
list में मैं
It's very tough. FT, getting into FT is far
वो जो
tougher than
16
getting
का
into
नाम पे
IIT.
जो बोलता था कि
Yeah,
16
people
number
don't
is,
realize.
like you can be the
Yeah.
17th one.
Yeah.
And it is
It's
as
very
good as
tough.
117th one, is same
Yeah,
thing. So
yeah.
there is 17. So
Just because of the number of seats, which are so less,
yes,
actually.
yes. I wish there should be more seats for it.
Only 10 seats in
It's
direction,
too
if I'm
less.
not
And
mistaken.
all over India, and people are coming.
Yeah, it's very tough. FTI is
don't
very
think
tough to
FTI
get
is,
into.
I think the most toughest entrance exam is FTI.
Not the end. Yeah. Anyway, so what happened?
Then but I was very clear that yes, I want to join film.
Right.
Then I discussed with some people, and purely as a strategy, I realized that my chances of getting into FTI if I join sound, because sound used to have a separate admission test.
Yeah.
And there is two, one is for sound and one is for integrated course. From integrated course, people used to be either cinematographer or editor or director.
Directors.
There was no director specialization that time. There was only director, cinematographer and editor. And or you do sound. So next year, I don't know, I just thought, I realized I'm also coming from, my father was retiring, and I'm coming from a very middle class background. Father had no savings. So I realized that I had to look for work, and I can't keep on trying. So I wanted to be sure that I get into FTS. That's why I did sound. And I always had this thing that sound के बाद मैं direction में चला जाऊँगा, which many people have done that.
Of course.
But that's why I came to sound.
FTA also prepares you for everything. I mean, it prepares you to be a director also, no matter what you do. So,
Not so much in sound.
Acha, because it was completely.
It's completely so that's why you
Right.
will find the sound recordists are a little alag hota hai. They are not that way. Editor and cinematographer has a more cinematic mind. The sound, somewhere they treat themselves more like a sound engineer than a sound recordist. So वो एक है. I don't think, but my mindset was very different.
Maybe you're right, because.
And also in FTI, what has happened that I was very friendly. Most of the time I was attending other classes.
Okay.
And those days it was the atmosphere was very relaxed. I could walk into a class. I'll work in so many other projects, and no problem. I
Right.
become very much part of
Everybody's projects.
Everybody's projects. I was not, though I was a sound recordist, that was my specialization, but I became part of everything. I was doing everything, and I was.
Oh, it's a beautiful place.
It's a
FTI,
beautiful
FTI is
place,
a
and
beautiful
those days
place.
was really nice.
There's so zero doubts.
And,
I mean,
the best
the
thing
best
which
years of my
happened in
life.
FTI was that I again, after that IIT, that nihilistic phase of nothingness, I found purpose.
You found purpose.
I was like, literally, you won't believe that I was working almost 12 hours a day, and then watch movies, and like it was FTI life was like a totally into it. It's almost like reliving my Purulia life, where you are into it, but in a different environment. And here again, I got very involved with my work.
You loved working in FTI and learning sound.
I loved it. I enjoyed it. No, I mean not learning sound, being in FTI, learning cinema.
Learning cinema.
I was learning a lot outside.
Right.
I mean, I was attending other workshops. All my friends will discuss movies all the time. So it was quite a thriving,
Vibrant place.
FTI. And the other two important thing which has happened, I think, which shaped my future quite a lot, is that from a very Bengali environment, even Kharagpur, though there was a lot of non-Bengali students, but it was primarily a Bengali environment. I moved into a very more
Cosmopolitan kind of.
environment, and that helped me to.
But even IIT would have that cosmopolitan environment.
No, IIT was not cosmopolitan. Kharagpur was quite Bengali. Actually, it's very fun. Strangely, even the non-Bengalis, they become Bengali, then the Bengalis become cosmopolitan.
The Bengalis never become that level because I know Bengalis,
Yeah.
they'll have a separate Bengali group
Yeah, yeah.
and they will have all this cosmopolitan group also, but they'll also have a separate Bengali group because I have so many Bengali
So
friends.
IIT में था, but FTI में क्या हुआ? Then suddenly,
But that is very strange that in Kharagpur, because it's a ranking thing,
but
all
फिर
India.
भी it was a everybody is talking in Bengali.
Really?
Yeah, but in for the first time I started talking in English is in FTI when I at
But
a
was
regular
it that
level.
maybe in Kharagpur you had found people like you and you had a more Bengali group rather than.
That also happened that I was become part of a Bengali group. All my friends were Bengali.
Because I find it a little bizarre that, I mean,
No,
in a
but
place like Kharagpur, it wouldn't be.
It is quite like that.
It was quite like that during your time. I'll just confirm this with, I think, some of my other
Okay,
friends.
but it's quite. It has a very Bengali flavor, Kharagpur,
Okay.
and जो FTI में, and secondly exposure to world cinema. Suddenly it opened me up, and after that, I think it really helped me to be.
You found your voice.
Yeah,
No.
be universal.
Be universal.
Be universal somewhere. I mean,
Be a world citizen.
be a world citizen. Like I'm not Indian. It is not nationalistic approach. It is more of a because you see world cinema, which you see that every film is talking about more. There's sudden you start noticing common things in the world cinema. You become global.
Yeah. And you're a citizen of the world. That's what you're
And
saying.
that is wonderful thing which has happened.
Wow. So you were there for 2 years, right?
I was there for 1.5 years.
1.5.
Because that is the time, because of sound specialization, it was 1.5 year course. And it just happened that though most of the students used to stay for much longer, but it just happened that I got my first work from Bombay on the last month itself.
Oh,
So I just came to Bombay.
And started working.
It just happened that I never had to go back to FTI too. But I had none.
so you finished your project and you immediately somebody called you for work.
Called me over, and after that, there's one work after another started coming.
Right.
Because it happened that we also entered industry at a time when there was a need for recordist.
Yeah.
They're looking for a recordist
Yeah.
because वो तो उसके पहले बैच में खाली एक ही स्टूडेंट था साउंड में और 2 स्टूडेंट था. उसके पहले एक स्ट्राइक बैच हो गया था. So there was industry was looking for recording. So actually our batch is a very lucky batch. Everybody got placement very quickly when I started working, and I worked non-stop after that. And I got into total work mode.
So what was that first work that you got?
Very first work was a documentary for NSS, National Service Scheme.
Yeah.
So one person called Vinay Dhumale. I
yeah.
don't know, you must have, he was the first
heard
guy
the
to
name.
bring U-matic recorder in
U-matic recorder, isn't it? Okay.
in Bombay. He was one of the first guy. I think his studio's name was Image Video or something like that. So Vinay called me to do sound, and it was a wonderful experience. The first time I was traveling all over Maharashtra, all the way up to Goa.
Right.
We are basically covering a lot of NSS camps, and we did sound, and I did sound. Then after, so it was, and after that I contacted Hitendra Ghosh.
Oh, those are
Hitendra
legendary.
Ghosh. By that time,
sound
Hitendra Ghosh
recorders.
was already working with Sham Benegal, and Hitendra Ghosh was already got a couple of national awards and Filmfare awards. So he's become famous. Junun tab tak release ho gaya tha. So Hitendra Ghosh ka ek, so and Hitendra Ghosh was looking for an
For record, for someone to assist him.
For assist him. So immediately, the moment I walked in, he said, "हाँ, तुम कल से come शुरू करो." So it was like 2 minutes.
That is an
interview.
FTI thing also. I
FTI
think.
thing also, and I mean,
Yeah,
nothing
that
really.
you,
Just come.
you're from
start.
FTI, you come tomorrow.
Just
yeah.
come.
Yeah.
And it was work. But those days, the money used to be very less. But there used to be a lot of work. So we used to literally go work. And luckily in film industry, what happens that you get you get food.
Yes.
So that is a big thing.
Yes.
So you get a food, and you stay as a PG, and the demands are this thing also very little. We are very happy with country liquor. Those days I mean whiskey नहीं rum नहीं मिलेगा भी चलता था खाना पाव भाजी से खुश थे.
You were young, right? You were like
Yeah,
20 to
yeah,
23.
so there was life was quite.
How old were you when you started
Oh,
working?
I was 24. I think.
You were 24.
So life was quite exciting henceforth. And then I become part of that parallel cinema group. You
Okay.
know, Vinod Chopra, Said
Okay.
Moyes, you know, all those people who are also the FTNs who passed out in 75, 76. They kind of created their niche. And I have become the part of Shambanegal group. And this group also, both. I started working with Renu Saluja. So Renu introduced me to Vinod, and then Vinod was doing Khamosh, so I got my first break in Khamosh. In between, I worked in 36 Chowringhee Lane with Aparna Sen, because that time Hituda was doing the sound, and post, he gave it to me. He said, you just do this work.
Oh, so you did the entire post of 36
Post
Chowringhee
of
Lane.
36.
What a brilliant film
it
that
was,
is. I mean,
quite good-
people
good fun.
who haven't watched 36 Chowringhee Lane, you have no idea what you missed.
Govind did Vijeta. I worked in Vijeta.
Super film,
So
another
Vijeta
super
was
film.
another experience. Then Ardh Satya.
Another
And
super
Ardh Satya
film.
was another
Yeah.
great experience. Ardh Satya was one of the first sing sound.
Govind Nilan.
Half of the film was sing sound actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because what has happened in Ardh Satya was Govind is very particular of a good pilot track. So Govind used to insist that okay, make pilot track. And हम लोग के पास वो lapel mic मिल गया था, not cordless mics, तो corded lapel mics दो मिल गया था. So and we are shooting in 16. The camera was silent. So that was another big advantage. So I recorded a pretty decent pilot track.
Right.
And then what happened, and Ardh Satya being a very intense film,
Yeah.
then they dubbed the whole film, but realized that the pilot is sounding better than the dub sound. Because the performance, the Om's performance, Amrish Puri Om's confrontations, there are many scenes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The final scene in the film where he says to thuke or my chatu
Huh.
and all this. That
Sing
is
sound,
not
sing
that is
sound.
sync sound, right?
Sing
Because
sound.
that quality I can
Sing sound.
still recollect.
Most
the,
of Om is sing sound. Smita was totally dubbed because Om and Smita scenes were a bit intimate and whispered tone where the pilot was not up to the mark. Lot of incidental effects are actually I recorded at the shooting.
Oh,
Even after
really?
doing Foley's, we used all the pilot track sound, all the
Wow.
footsteps, running,
Wow.
chase, action.
Wow.
So that was a very good experience.
Wow.
That actually, Ardh Satya was the experience of which made me into Recordist. And then Khamosh happened.
Right.
And how Khamosh happened.
For people who don't understand this, because I wanted to make it more universal for an audience, is what sync sound and what dubbed sound is. When you do sync sound, what you hear, what you record on the set is what you hear in the final film. You know?
Yes.
But when dubbed sound, what you do is you go into a dubbing theater and the actor
And
redubs,
re-record.
re-records,
You record the
redubs
whole
and
thing.
re-records
He
every line that he's said.
Yes.
So it's always, one would always prefer to do a sync sound because then you get the same intensity that the actor has on on when he's doing the scene. That is why sync sound is so important. The first big film that it was done in, I think, was Dil Chahta Hai.
No, first, then let's get back to the sing sound history then.
Yeah.
So, film started with sing sound. Dubbing came much later.
Oh, really?
Yes, all your earlier films, which is studio based films. I'm talking about the films of 30s
I am
and
shocked
40s.
I didn't know this.
Till 50s, it was sing sound.
In that Hatiwala camera.
Mitchell.
Mitchell, yeah.
Mitchell
Right,
camera,
right, of course.
which was a silent
Right,
camera.
I'm so sorry. I've shot on that camera.
And the sing. So it is not that sing sound started with
Yeah,
Dil Chahta
right.
Hai, all that.
You're right. Absolutely right.
We rediscovered sing sound.
We rediscovered sing sound.
Sing sound was there.
Yeah.
Then what happened in 1955 or 60s when Ari came in? If you see that cinema took a major transition. Cinema from studio thing, it moved outdoor. And we are not equipped to record good sound in outdoor. Where people are recording decent sound in studio. You know, those days there used to be this, you must have seen in FTI that good old boom. I don't know whether you've seen it. It used to have a,
No,
and
we used to do record on booms.
boom,
Boom
I'm not
mics.
talking about the boom rod. They used to have this boom stand.
Right,
With my
right.
FTS still has got one.
Right, right.
And they used to do that, and there was to be separate recording booth, and there used to be the big round mics, RCA mic, and it used to happen in studio. But then once outdoor happened, we couldn't manage it, and also camera became noisy. So dubbing culture came in, I think, late 60s. And in 70 it took over. Totally. Then all the films were dubbed. Then again in 1980, when 16mm came, 16mm camera was silent.
Silent.
35 was never silent, because 35 camera, even a silent camera used to be BL camera, blimped.
Right.
वो था, BL था, but
वो
blimp
blimp
was a very bulky
heavy.
affair.
It's a very heavy
So people used to prefer to shoot on 2C and get away with it. 16 जब आया, again people realized that it's possible to do sync sound. So 16 में and Shambhanegal and Govind Nihalani, they were quite sensitive to sound. They wanted to do sync sound. So Hituda actually played a very important role in reviving sync sound. Hitendra Ghosh.
In reviving sync sound.
Sync sound. Then Ardh Satya when happened, where I did 50% sync sound. Then Mandi happened. Mandi, Hituda's film. Again, Hituda didn't go to the
Again, a
location.
Shambhanegal
Mandi.
film.
And Shambhanegal film. Mandi was almost fully sync sound, which was recordist, location recordist was my batchmate Vijay Bhope. So
Okay.
he did sync sound. Though when Hituda was chief recordist, he did all the post work. So
Hitendra Ghosh revived sync sound, according to you.
Hitendra Ghosh was a recordist. I mean, it has happened because of the support from Govind and Shambhanegal. Hitendra Ghosh was the first recordist to do sync sound. And I, being his assistant, I kind of got into sync sound. And Paddy did it Holi.
Padmanabhan.
A.M. Padmanabhan.
A.M. Padmanabhan.
Holi is Ketan Mehta's film.
Right.
That was a totally sync sound, and it was a film with only 10 shots, I think. Each shot is a mise-en-scène.
Okay.
Okay. So have you seen Holi?
I've seen
You
Holi,
should
but
see
I didn't see it like that.
Holi is but to do 10 minutes of sync sound without any support of cordless mics and everything was not that easy. Where that's why the work was not up to the standard. But the first attempt actually happened. But it was a very significant attempt happened of sync sound in Holi. And then क्या होता था ऑन ऑफ मैंने थोड़ा सिंग साउंड किया, थोड़ा नहीं किया, कोई सीन साउंड किया, कुछ सीन सिंग साउंड नहीं हुआ, वो चलते गया. Then 87 when I did Annie was 100% सिंग साउंड.
In which
Annie gives it those ones.
yeah.
Annie was that happened in 87.
That's Arundhati Roy, I think.
Arundhati Roy
Is
was
the-
writer and acted in it, and it was happened to be Shah Rukh Khan's first film.
Yeah.
Shah Rukh Khan acted in it.
Shah Rukh Khan's first film.
So 87, Annie was totally sync sound. After that, I did mainly sync sound. Okay. But still, they didn't become trained. These are like little offbeat cinema exceptions happening. First, mainstream cinema, Lagan is the first film.
Lagan.
Where it got all the publicity and everything, and it has become a big blockbuster. And Lagan was first sync sound, then Dil Chahta Hai.
Lagan, but they were doing it around the same time together, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
They came around the same time.
Same
also,
time,
a little-
I think,
little
but
around.
Lagan is the first.
Lagan is the first.
Same
one.
sound. It was.
But anybody who has not understood this, I mean, like what I remember now, because Ardh Satya is one of my all-time favorite films. And what I remember about Ardh Satya is the raw energy with which Om Puri says those dialogues. And baap re baap.
that whole torture scene in the.
Yeah.
It was impossible to dub. But it was so much energetic scene. I mean, and they try. It is not that they didn't try. It is one film which I will say today they dubbed and then kept sync sound.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And in that time.
That time, dubbing हुआ था. Then Om himself said that my sync sound is so much better. Govind felt that sync sound, and luckily I did a decent recording also.
Yeah. No, but the way he is also performed in that film, I think if with dubbing, at least 30-40% would have been
Who
lost.
lost?
Because that performance, Ompuri, I mean, because Ompuri was not really a typical Hindi film hero. It was just the quality of his performance and the quality of his voice, which carried that film to miles ahead of any actor at that time.
Even that was Sadasiv's first film.
Sadashiva was
Sada
also
couldn't
good.
dub.
Sadashiva
Sada was struggling to
Amrapurkar.
dub. So Sada's portions all sing sound. Amrish Puri sings sound. Om sings sound. Smita's portion is all dubbed.
Right.
All those romantic scenes of
Yeah,
them.
where he's singing, he's telling her about that poem
Yeah.
on the.
And they are walking on the marine. I think worldly surface.
Oh, that's such a lovely memory, this film, because I absolutely love Ardh Satya.
It was also Bombay of that period.
Yeah, that captured the Bombay.
Captured Bombay.
I think after that, the next film probably which captured it was Satya, in the way it was shot, and maybe Black Friday, Anurag's Black Friday also. So these films captured it, but I think very few films actually during that time, because I think they used to capture Bombay, like even in Gharonda.
जाने भी दियो ना captured Bombay.
Yeah, quite well. अभी तो क्या बॉम्बे मतलब यार it's become like a fancy place which doesn't look like the Bombay, you know. It's very strangely captured. But this is an amazing story, honestly. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of my conversation with Professor Emeritus and film sound recordist Indrajit Neogi. I published the second part of this lovely conversation on Friday next week. I drop a new episode every Friday night at around 10 pm. I will also end this and every episode by recommending a film or a web series. But before that, here is a small message on how you can help to keep this podcast alive and growing. This episode is free and I intend to keep it that way. But it does take a lot of time, money, and effort to produce the show. We research, write, record, and edit before we finally present it to you. So if you wish to be a part of our effort, you can support the making of the show by contributing any amount you wish on our website, conversationswithatul.com/support. And here is my film record. The film I recommend today is The Birds, adapted from a story by Daphne du Maurier and screenplay written by Ivan Hunter. The Birds is one of Alfred Hitchcock's finest films. The Birds has a strange plot where one fine day, all the birds in a small town flock to conspire and kill anybody and everybody they see outdoors. It is a kind of film only Hitchcock could have made. The Birds has no music score and uses only sounds and effects to create an ambience of terror. The Birds rates a soaring 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb. Do watch if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitter by following my Twitter handle Atul Taishete, spelled as ATULTAISHETE. Also, do visit my website Conversations, that is Conversations plural with an S. The complete website address is conversationswithatul.com. So see you next Friday at 10 pm with a different guest, a new episode and a fresh conversation right here on Conversations with Atul. Have a rocking fun week and stay safe. Imagine a train passes by on screen and you don't hear the passing train at all. Or a tiger roars in a film, but instead you hear a dog bark. These are not really very good examples, but I guess you now understand how important sound is in filmmaking. But unfortunately, in the real world, the attitude towards sound is the exact opposite. The value of sound in the Indian film industry is highly underrated. Sound recording is the kind of skill in filmmaking, the presence of which is never given enough credit for, but the absence is sorely missed. In the second part of my conversation with Professor Emeritus and sound recordist Indrajit Neogi, we continue from where we left off and converse about the importance of sound in films and discuss his contribution in landmark art films like 36 Chowringhee Lane, Khamosh, Vijeta and Ardh Satya. Hi, I'm Atul Taishete and welcome to my show, Conversations with Atul. So, Neogi sir, how has the journey been after Ardh Satya and Vijeta and all these classic films that you were associated with? How was it?
I'll put it like this. I always live in even it is even in my life also, and even in film also. I take life. I'm not so much into that I have to be there, I have to go there, or something like that. I treat life as an experience. And similarly, in film, it was more of a journey than a destination for me. Uh, I one thing I had a very diverse interest. So I worked in all possible kind of a films. I mean, as much as I was part of the alternative cinema or parallel cinema, you can call it. I also worked in a lot of documentaries. I worked in advertisement. I worked in television serials, wildlife films, sports, and also at a later stage of my life, I had some good experience of mainstream cinema. So I had a quite a wide range of experience as a sound recordist that way. So I kind of joined in 1980 and worked in Bombay till 2011. So almost 31 years. And I had whatever happened. I mean, like, I happened to be the recordist along with the films. I also happened to be recordist of Karamchand, the first television serial.
Pankaj Kapoor.
Pankaj Kapoor.
Pankaj
So
Parashar.
so that was also when television is just picking up, and it was and Karamchand is one serial which was totally shot outdoor.
Yeah.
So it was quite challenging at that point of time to do sound for an outdoor serial. And I mean, it was shot on the streets, and that too in Bombay streets. And so that was a great experience. Then another very interesting project, I worked with Chandita Mukherjee on a serial which lasted for 5 years, which is a documentary serial on history of science. There was a program called Bharat Ki Chhap.
Bharat Ki Chhap.
It actually was released at the same time when Bharat Ek Khoj and when Sham Benegal's discovery of India happened. That time also there used to be 3 back-to-back programs on DD, Bharat Ek Khoj, Bharat Ki Chhap and Mahabharat.
Oh, really?
So the Sunday morning
Full.
They had this 3 Bharat-oriented slot. So that particular project was, we really traveled all over India. Practically in every corner of India we traveled, and
All sync sound also.
all things on. There was no question. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 lines here and there you have dubbed, but primarily it's sync sound.
Primarily sync sound.
So we traveled, and it was a documentary by nature. It was a documentary serial. So we traveled, and it was a wonderful experience.
Right.
It was a wonderful experience for 5 years, and those are the days when travel was not in any comfort. We used to have this Khatara ST bus kind of a thing, and on that we used to travel for 2 months all over India.
Wow.
Like, we'll start, and every day we'll shoot from morning till evening, and then again in the
Evening, get in a
evening
bus.
we get in the bus and reach to your next destination at 11 or 12 p.m. in the night, and then just crash into a hotel, and then again get up in the morning and shoot. So it was wonderful experience, which made you very tough and give you so much of exposure to what is happening in the
And you also see the country.
You see the country. So that's and in between I worked in another very interesting film which is called In Which Annie Gives It Those Ones. You know, the film which was directed by Pradeep Kishan. Pradeep Kishan is
Husband.
He didn't make too many films. But his first film also was become quite famous, called Masi Saab.
Yeah.
And
With Raghuveer Yadav won a national
which
award.
launched Raghuveer Yadav. And after that, he did Annie, that was in 87-88. It was a film on student life. And it was shot in School of Learning of Architecture in Delhi. Arundhati Roy wrote the script, and she also acted in that film. And that happened to be also Shah Rukh Khan's first film. He did a small role. in
Pradeep
that film.
Kishan was Arundhati Roy's husband?
I heard that now they are separated.
Okay.
But I
But
think at that time, yeah, they were
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
And so once that happened, then in 1990, where I started, I mean, I was also getting old and I felt the need to settle down. So I very consciously shifted gears, looking for more, whenever I can earn more money. And जो होता है मैंने एक age, when you're young age of the 20 to 30, when you are really want to explore everything and you try out, and then in the middle aged, and you want to settle down, you want to buy a house in Bombay, because Bombay life is quite difficult. So my focus shifted a little bit, and that is the time also it coincided with privatization of television channels. So Star TV and ZTV and all these channels came in, and the program like Saap Siri. Then I was doing another television serial, the first Delhi soap called Shanti, which lasted for five years, I think.
Yeah.
And then many others. So that was like real 94, 95, 96 was...
Lots of work.
Lots of work was happening that time. Like you are really busy. जिसको बोलते हैं. And that's the only time when I actually made some money also. So then again, with me, I don't know whether it is because of my temperament or because of my nature. I like to always shift places. I again kind of went back to feature. Went back to feature. There are a couple of very interesting projects happened. One project is called a film called Matir Moina, which was film shot in Bangladesh. It's a Bangladeshi film. It was an Indo-French Bangladesh collaboration film.
Okay.
Sing sound again in Bangladesh villages.
Oh wow.
So it was quite an interesting experience. Then there are some more films, and then I worked in another very interesting. In between, a lot of documentaries I was doing actually. I mean, I worked for the BBC, Channel 4, Discovery, National Geography. A lot of documentary work was happening. But so I always had a very mixed bag of this thing. I mean, fiction, non-fiction, documentaries, ad films, television serials, events. The first, I remember when the first time Filmfare Award was live telecast. I was recordist of that project.
Oh, really?
So I had that way I have a very vast,
diverse
experience of sound recording.
Right.
And then around 2006, I got into mainstream. That's the first time actually. In between, I tried couple of times. I did Khamosh, for example. I mean, I should.
Khamosh is still not mainstream.
Khamosh was not mainstream, but now Vinod Chopra afterwards later become a pillar of mainstream. Khamosh was not mainstream at all that time. Actually, Khamosh was another film which was a wonderful experience. Like where everybody got same payment in that film. It was the last that brotherhood of cinema. It was a wonderful experience.
Because it was a completely FTI film. Right?
FTI film. Everybody was together. All came together. All stayed together under a very similar condition in Pelgaon. There was no hierarchy.
Yeah.
It was great fun.
Yeah.
Khamosh was, I think it remains in my memory as one of the best experience while working in a film. Later on, what happened that money started coming in. Along with money, hierarchy started coming in. And it created a new kind of a star system. So the filmmaking became a bit business-like. So वो जो मज़ा था जो early cinema का, जिसके लिए मैं शायद film line में आया था, because it was more of a passion than when I came to film, I never thought of
money.
Money was the last thing in my head, because I wanted to be part of cinema. But then it's at some point of a time it shifted. Then because you have to survive in Bombay, the Bombay life was becoming difficult. Bombay is getting too overcrowded. It's very difficult to travel in Bombay. So धीरे धीरे एक priority shift हो जाता है. Then you started working for money after a point. And उसमें वो काम करने का जो मज़ा होता है वो शायद चला जाता है, थोड़ा सा sacrifice हो जाता है. But हाँ, when still you are a professional and you're doing a good job and you're working with it. But the relationship with your colleagues,
Changes.
they change, which was not there till 85, 86, 90. So first 10 years of my life, I passed out in 1980 and till end of, I think I'll call 1992 tak. Those first 12 years of my life was really working with a passion. Working for cinema we believed in. Very similar thinking kind of people all came together. They worked together. I mean, maybe some workers are great and some workers are not so great. But it's okay. But then...
the process was fun.
Then the process was fun. And then I remember I gave up... and Karamchand was a very well-paying serial. That time Karamchand was a big hit. But I gave up Karamchand also to work in Sudhir Mistra's film.
Which film was that?
In his first film.
इस रात की सुबह नहीं.
नहीं, not इस रात का सुहानी, उसका पहले वाले फिल्म forgetting his name.
Who was the cast?
Manohar Singh,
Right.
and Habib Tanvir,
Okay.
and Shushmita Mukherjee, Pankaj Kapoor.
Okay. I think I know the film.
I'm just not getting Shrudi's name. Film names are so long. I'm just not getting that name right now. Okay. So we worked on that. So it was a different experience. And then, so 2005 onwards, Anil Mehta was my batchmate and also good friend of mine. So Anil called me to do sound for Aja Nachle. So
yeah.
that was my first
mainstream
cinema where
Yashraj.
suddenly I just walked into the Ashraj and with the best of the equipments, and all these days equipment was a struggle because the film budgets are very low and you are somehow managing to work and try to do good work with equipments which are not the best equipment. But here it was actually a pleasure. Right. When you work with 4 assistants and best of equipments, actually the work is quite cakewalk. So it was fun. Yashraj was and also Yashraj is a good production house. So it till 2011 it went on, and then I think I decided to switch over to academic.
And you joined MIT.
I joined MIT. I came here. It was just a coincidence that one of my another friend Prashant Desai, who was heading the film department of this place, he wanted to quit. And that time he just asked me one day that, boss, are you interested? And that is the time I was thinking about. I was wanting a change from film industry actually. I mean, it was getting almost 30 years, 31 years. And after a point, wo jo maza chala jata hai, then it becomes routine.
Right.
So this Prashant offered me, and I came here to Pune, and after a point I just joined the department, and it was really starting from scratch, a department.
We'll come to that because we'll come to, I think, what I would like to know is that as a sound designer and sound recordist, what is your attitude towards sound? Because I understand sound as the stepchild of the industry. You know, that's how it is. Everybody thinks sound to main baad mein dekh lega. That is what happens. And nobody, like in Hollywood, that is not the case. In Hollywood, I mean, you can see it in their films and the kind of emphasis they have on sound in a film. I think we just don't have that respect for sound technicians in this country. I very strongly feel that. And what is your attitude towards sound? And like when you are recording sound or when you hear sound, what is it that you are looking for? What is your process? How is it that you work?
Look, generally people, the general perception is that cinema is primarily a visual medium, um, which it has happened also because the silent cinema came before the sound came. Silent cinema came in, I think, 1895, and whereas sound came in 1928,
Right.
if I get the year right now. So there was an history of silent cinema for many years, and then sound came. So, but after that, the cinema has evolved quite a lot. And in today, I don't really think that though people like to believe that so cinema is a primarily
Visual medium.
medium, but uh, I think sound plays a very important role to make the film.
Of course.
And absolutely, there's no doubt about it.
Right.
So I think we have to think that cinema is an audiovisual medium and not a primarily visual medium where, okay, it has sound. Sound is not an add-on. Sound is a very much integral part of film. And like, for example, you mute the sound and try to watch a movie. Invariably, you won't watch after a point.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. And but in India, we have a little. I mean, I personally, aesthetically, I connect to European film much more than I connect to Indian film, and especially the way Indian film sound is used. We are a bit over the top, larger than life. Our culture is larger than life, actually.
Right.
We love to exaggerate everything, heighten everything. Similarly, what with that same thing we do with sound, the way we play with sound level, the volume. I mean, everything is a bit too loud for my liking. I mean, I believe, but there is a history to it also. What has happened that earlier the projection quality was very poor. The sound theaters were poor. I mean, if you look back, these multiplex theaters, the good quality theaters came much, much later. And there was no AC in the theater, there was no... there used to be a strong, big fan will work in the theater, and you have to hear the sound above everything. So all the subtleties went for a toss.
So the mixing had to be loud.
Mixing had to be loud, the dialogue has to be loud, and you don't whisper "I love you," you shout out "I love you." I mean, that is how it's work. Then also, what is happening is that because of that, the focus on ambient sound was not much.
Was not much.
There, because only in a good preview theater or some theater for a festival theater you hear the sound properly. Otherwise, in all theaters, which is where the film is get commercially released, the sound quality is so bad that you literally the lower level sounds get lost. What you're hearing is the loud dialogue, and to cover it up, you're using loud music. So that's how the aesthetics actually evolved for quite some time. But if you look at the earlier films, the sound was treated quite differently.
Right.
And then kind of then action film came, and
Right.
everything was like
Right.
this thing. But slowly it has started changing. I think 19 with multiplex especially, the better theaters have come in, better sound speakers are used. So aesthetics of sound is changing, but still we kind of there's a huge difference between the way European cinema conceives sound and the way Indian cinema conceives sound.
Yeah. That's very true. It's very true. And how do you think what should be a current sound editing, because you have so many sound students in your own institute?
Yeah.
What do you think should be their attitude towards sound when they're recording sound? How should they look at sound when they're out there recording, when they are mixing? What is that one key thing? One or two or five, I mean.
Look, it's a very complex thing, sound. I mean, it looks very simple, but actually
Absolutely.
sound has a lot of complexity in it. Like, for example, now the trend is 5.1,
Mm.
which is there for quite some time now. And I have some. I think it will take some time to me to explain.
Yeah, take
And
your
only
time.
it is for the people who actually understand cinema. They may,
Don't worry about all that. You explain.
Yeah.
Don't worry about who's going to
Um,
understand.
What has happened is that cinema, primarily the way we shoot film and we edit film, it is director's perspective.
Yes.
Correct. The
Right.
camera is continuously shifting positions. Camera is not in one place.
Right.
Correct. Camera is sometimes taking this close up, then going to the other angle, taking that close up, taking over the shoulder, taking over the. So,
The
the
visual
r-
perspective is shifting.
shifting. So, as a result, the right, left is continuously shifting, and jumping.
The right left of the sound
Ha.
also
Is
is
continuously
shifting.
jumping.
I think it's very fairly simple to understand. I mean, please continue.
It is continuously jumping, and that was not very aesthetically. It is not very nice thing
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
So sound not necessarily has to follow image, because we are very comfortable with image shifting perspective.
But we are not
But
comfortable
we are
with
not
sound.
comfortable with
Right,
sound shifting
right,
perspective. And this
right.
is something I think everybody has to understand this.
Right.
That's why I still think that we are not somewhere doing justice to 5.1 yet. Still it is at a bit of a gimmick level. The way you are using sound, it is like, okay, so when we are trying to be, but want to have an impact and want to have drama and want to have suddenly helicopter coming over the head, or you hear something which is happening behind your back and all these things. But it is not integrating that well with cinema. And and it is a bit of it's a technological challenge also. The other big challenge, I'll tell you, in speakers, you mix the sound from one position, correct? The mixing recordist is sitting in the center of the theater, or wherever the 2/3 position of the theater, and he is judging everything from his point
From
of
ideal
view.
position.
Ideal position. But when in theater there are, say, 500 seats or 800 seats, all these seats are scattered.
Yeah. And everybody has a different,
And since there is a surrounding sound, everybody is perceiving sound differently.
differently.
And I don't think technologically we have an answer to that.
Right.
So actually the person who is sitting on the left is listening to a different sound, person sitting on the right is different, person sitting on the front row is listening to a different sound, back row is listening to a different sound. And whereas the person who has actually done the recording is sitting in some other position and from his judgment.
Right.
So,
because he's in the center and
yes.
he has the most ideal position.
So
Yeah.
this is still happening, and we have to find and take. We are also like, yes, come out with 7.1, the sound and all menu, but still I don't think I think finally the whole solution come when everybody will be provided a headphone.
Okay.
When you actually walk to a theater, you are not depending on the
Sound of the speakers.
Sound of the speakers, the physically fixed speakers. But what you need is a headphone, so that only the relationship of the speakers will be in relation to your ears. And once that will happen, you'll be able to appreciate the sound best. And sooner or later, I am quite sure the technology will head towards that.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. So what you're actually what I actually understood from this, which I honestly didn't before, in spite of being a filmmaker, is that sound is something which is far more complex than the visual, actually. Because you cannot, like a visual, you can shoot from any angles and you can see it from any angle too. And because it's a 2D image, it will still look the same, it won't be, there won't be a big
Yeah,
difference.
but something is which always surprises me, audience is very comfortable with that. Actually, you are shifting the camera positions all the time, but audience perceive it as a continuity, as a one continuous image. Audience don't perceive sound, perceive the cuts. For them, it's one event which is happening.
Yeah, because even though you're taking 10 shots in one scene, I think it's more of a cultivated habit. That's how
Maybe
cinema has
I'm
started.
not. Yeah, maybe
That's
so.
it's more of
Maybe
a
so.
it's a
Maybe so. It
cultivated
is
habit.
we from the bachpan se humne wahi se
Yeah, because it started with this, no, that there was this screen, and then it was the first time that people were seeing a live film, and then when they showed a train, and when the train started coming towards them, they thought that the train was going to come and trample them over.
Yeah.
So everybody went to one side of the theater,
Yeah.
of this tent. It was in a tent.
Yeah, yeah.
It was being projected on a screen. But the entire audience in the 1930s or sometimes, or before that, they just went to one side of the theater because they got so scared that a train is going to come and trample us, or so it was going to roll over us. I mean, so it is. I mean, so from there we have come where slowly I think the whole idea of the edit and how to make it more interesting and how to keep people engaged. I think all that is now a cultivated habit. So you're used to seeing an edit and not like what you're saying is actually very true that it's from all different angles. Like if you have a frontal shot and then suddenly you have a Russian angle, Dutch angle, right from the bottom, you have this completely different lens.
Yeah.
So people don't get it because our eyes are actually, I mean, we are seeing everything in almost the same kind of perspective. But cinema is not that. Cinema is showing you the same scene in like 50 different perspectives
Yeah.
actually, visually. And yet you are comfortable with it. But
Yeah.
the moment something changes in sound, you don't like it.
Yeah.
You that thing, same change in perspective as an audience, the audience will not accept it in sound, but it does accept it in visuals.
Yeah.
So sound is far more complicated if you want to get the same experience
Yeah.
of a perspective shift.
Yeah.
I think it's a far more complicated thing.
Yeah, yeah. This is. I mean, you told me that what is the thing I would like to share with the future.
Yeah.
I think this is something they need to understand. The future sound recordist,
Yeah.
and till the time the technology takes its next leap,
Yeah.
I think sound is a independent thing. It's happening. But you have to create a sound world and there's a visual world. And somewhere they integrate, but still the audio world has its own identity. We somehow, while during trackling, we think like a sound as a kind of a copy of the
It's subservient.
Yeah,
It's subservient,
subservient
to
the image.
Visual.
But I think it is important to think that sound is not. You create an
An ambience of sound.
ambience of sound, irrespective of the.
Because what I understand this right now is that clearly we are not going to get, like when we are in real life, the kind of sound experience that we get, we are not get even close to that in a cinema theater.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
even though I mean what our ears perceive all the time, what our ears hear all the time, you're not really perceiving that or not really getting that on a film screen. That's where it is. That's an amazing perspective, I think, on sound. And so I think then you shifted to academics and you have been teaching here and you have been like with this. I mean, you've been interacting with a lot of young students, and so what is your perspective of the young today? I mean, like because there is this thing, that this is Gen Z and general Gen Z and all that stuff like that, which is all I think jargon, and these are also the era of the smartphone. I think the last 12 years, 10, 12 years have changed and whole attitude of a generation. I mean, there is a generational shift within us. Forget these young kids who grew up with the smartphone, I think. But now, when we were in the 80s and the 90s, everything was separate. The visual experience was separate. So if you wanted to listen to a song, you went to a tape recorder. You want to see with TV, a film, then you went to a VCR or a DVD player. I mean, you went to 10 different. You wanted to use a calculator, you went to a different thing. So now everything has got merged over the years, and it's all together. And this whole experience, so everything is in somebody's hand. So they don't really need people around them. So you can watch a film, you can do WhatsApp, you can play a video game. There are 20. How do you perceive the generation with this kind of technology?
I'll put it like this. First of all, yeah, there's a major shift. I mean, if you see the historical landmarks in the evolution of mankind, like say fire, then discovery of wheels, discovery of metal, discovery of steam engine, invention of steam engine, electricity. These are all landmarks which brought a change. Suddenly the way
It's a
people...
paradigm shift, actually.
It's a paradigm shift happened
Yeah.
with each thing. And we are in that phase of life where actually in your lifespan that another landmark has come, which is computer. Computer shifted everything. And I think it is biggest shift has happened ever.
Yeah, yeah.
Till the... When you just imagine, as you said, that in one little phone, we have captured all our sensual experiences.
All our sensual experiences. Absolutely.
Correct. And today we are going beyond that, and soon there will be haptic technology, and there will be, all kind of things will happen,
Right,
touch and smell and everything. will
Everything.
happen.
All those experiences are
But
together.
I mean, as I said, we never thought that in a mobile will be used to record sound and reproduce sound, record image to reproduce image, other than recording all kind of a data. Every possible thing is happening in that little world. Okay. And here I don't want to be judgmental. I don't want to say that, our life was better and their life was wrong. Only thing I think we have to recognize this change and understand, okay, what are the actual changes come. Because this young generation, they are born in another world.
Right. The
Literally.
world itself is different.
Whereas still this world is controlled by our generation who born in another world. And we are not that easily willing to give up
That world.
that world. Okay. Because we have, there are a lot of merits in that world.
Yeah.
But we also have a lot of nostalgia with that world and a lot of, but the world has changed.
Right.
So, the biggest, which worries me about this change, I'm not so much worried about the mobile phone. It is a technological shift which has happened, and people will soon get used to it, and people will use their... Finally, what is happening? We had less choice, they have more choice. They have, like today, I just recently subscribed to Geo Fiber. And there are, my God, the whole OTT platform world, all the television channels, internet, everything is in front of me in the screen in a pretty good, decent
Format. Easy to use
exhibiting environment also. Like,
Yeah.
And I have got only 24 hours with me. 2 hours में मैं क्या देखूं? Sometimes I wonder, should I see these? And वो जो choice जब ज़्यादा हो जाता है सामने, वो एक बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम हो जाता है एक्चुअली. जब चॉइस कम होता है, लाइफ थोड़ा इजी रहता है. So you also have this added responsibility of choose, and all the time you have this pressure, am I choosing the right thing or not? There's a long back, there was a very interesting, somebody told me a long back that today, why the relationship between boys and girls, now the free mixing has increased drastically.
Yeah.
Earlier, we'll rarely used to meet a girl because there are boys' school and girls' school, and when we finally meet, you meet few girls and you fall in love with them. And over. But now what is happening, there are almost like even institute like this, there are some 1,200 students, there are 700 girls and 500 boys. They are all growing up together. So, who will be your final bed? So there are too many choices in front of you to select your life partner. So that's why people can't even take a decision very clearly about with whom
To make your boyfriend or girlfriend.
Boyfriend or girlfriend. Similarly, even with so many things available in front of you,
I never thought of it like this.
it is very difficult to choose. There is an inherent confusion in your head because you're not, but finally the responsibility to lead a sensible life, the choices will stay. It will be you who have to choose.
It's your choice.
It is your choice. And you have to prepare yourself to make that choice rightly. And that is going to happen, and that is happening, and that is going to happen. And then when that will happen, life will be much easier. That is one aspect.
But isn't it more difficult for this generation, for the younger generation now, to make that choice? Because it's always choices. It's always choices. So it's, of course, there's some kind of a pressure. But always makes it more difficult to choose when you yourself are saying. But the choices are not going to cull down. They're always going to be more.
Here now, what is going to happen finally? I think you will be very more clearer. You will ask yourself what you are actually looking for. I think more self-searching will happen, where you will kind of you will be very clear about what you want. It is not that जो भी it is not a buffet menu. that जो भी है मैं सब कुछ एक बार चख के देखूं. Finally, you will kind of you know that okay, you might have 100 dishes in front of you, but you'll still go ahead and eat one dish. I think that is also going to happen. Or you will be there's a right now we are just very recent in this thing, and only a history of 20 years where all these choices have come in. Correct. So we are still going through we are unable to think
Process them.
Fresh also. We are still have the hangover. For example, yesterday I was talking to our students who wants to. Everybody knows that audiovisual is going to be the next big thing. It's already become a big thing. I mean, everywhere. I mean, today even if you make a career in film, it's a wonderful place to be in. Yet, most of the parents are discouraging their children not to come in films. Why? It's a dilemma. It is a problem we are facing in a department. Children want to join films. Parents are saying no. I think somewhere we are still unable to get out of the old this thing. Film is in bad profession. Film is not right. The people get spoiled in the film industry. It's unsafe for women. So all these things we are still unable to get rid of. And this is one area which is becoming our challenge as an academic institute, how to get students to film. That is one problem is happening. But what is the bigger problem which I think the next generation is facing? And I don't know whether there's an easy way out from it. Is that the things are changing at a very rapid speed.
Yeah.
In our time, when you learned camera, it was one camera. And that camera was
used for 20
shelf
years.
life for 20 years.
Yeah.
Our sound recording machines were lasting
The
for...
Nagra.
was lasted for 30 years. Okay. But now, at such a hectic speed, the technology is changing. It is very difficult to keep pace with the technology.
Right.
Technological change has its own pace. You know Moore's law? It is a law which says that your processing speed is doubling every 1.5 years.
Okay.
Correct. But are we as a human being can keep with that pace?
Right.
And that is why the crisis is happening. Suddenly you are realizing, and this is creating a huge pressure. You are realizing that, you're getting outdated. You know that you have to learn something new, but you're not in a position to learn something new.
Right.
You don't have the motivation or don't have the strength to learn something new. And that is why you are feeling miserable. And you see that another generation comes and takes over. And going ahead and you don't know how to catch up. That is where the problem lies. Problem lies is the change, the speed at which, it is like you're used to 60 kilometers speed driving. Suddenly I give you a car which can pick up to 300 kilometers. It's a good chance because temperamentally you won't be able to take care of that speed. You will kind of meet in an accident. And this is a problem. I think somewhere I feel the technology needs to slow down also. And there's a capacity at which the human brain or human speed can speed up.
But what you're saying basically is that those who can't catch up are going to get left behind.
Yes. But how do you take care of them?
Yeah, I mean, that's what is
And
happening in the country.
that's a
all over.
tremendous insecurity. Just
That's not only in film, that is in everything. That is
everywhere.
in every
Not in
sphere
film,
that
it
you're
is
seeing.
everywhere.
Like, for example, right now, you have, during the whole pandemic, which happened in the 2020, for 2 years, you suddenly realize that you don't need the maid. Half the houses in the world country realize that we have these maids. Of course, they're not there in the West, but in India we have a concept of a maid who comes and cleans your house and cleans your utensils and does stuff. And now you suddenly don't need the maid. I'm sure half of those jobs are gone. Like for tomorrow, the delivery systems where somebody's coming on a bike and delivering your food is going to go away, and just drones are going to land on your terrace or going to land in your balcony and deliver your food. And then where do those people go? Where do those people go? I mean, they don't have the skill sets to upgrade to hire to a AI kind of a world. They don't have those skills. So what are those people going to do? I think somewhere as a society, I think it's a job of the government. These are not social problems.
No. I don't think it's just the government. It's a cultural problem.
Yeah.
The way we look at education.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying.
The
That
way
is
we look at education. I
Right.
think the time has come to look at education differently. All along our life, the way we looked at education, education was nothing else but to gather information. And we thought that is education.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
I mean, basically हिस्ट्री में हम लोग क्या सीखा अकबर which year Akbar became king and which year Aurangzeb died or which year the British came, years, number, and even in physics, chemistry, formulas we are learning. But now the time has come where those informations after 3 years become redundant in your life. I keep on telling students one thing: you have to learn how to learn.
Right.
Don't learn a thing. Learn how to learn, then automatically you learn for your rest of your life. Change that attitude. Like they come and they think that they will be here for 4 years and they will learn enough and after that they will have a smooth career.
Yeah.
नहीं होने
The
वाला
magic formula.
नहीं होने वाला है.
Yeah.
2 साल के अंदर, even forget about it, what you will learn in second year, by 5th year when you pass out, that knowledge is outdated.
Right.
Unless you get into the things, get inside things, you are part of the process.
Right.
And I think that's how we survived. I mean, today, whatever it is, I was, when our generation, and who survived? Are the people who actually never got overawed by computer. We realized that computer, basically fundamentally nothing has changed.
It's just a new machine.
It is a new machine with a new application.
Right.
So just understand the process and try to fit that in.
Barabar. And it's actually making your life easier if
Yeah,
you understand it.
yeah.
It's not your enemy. It's
It is not my enemy.
It's your friend.
I don't have to be scared of computer.
Right.
But the whole point is that we all, oh sir, एक नया कैमरा है क्या? नहीं. Forget our faculty, don't learn a new thing. Here, a new editing software comes, the faculty always wants to use that, but they will never get out of the comfort zone. They'll stick to that. Half of the time, the students are teaching faculty what to do. And this is fact in today's time. Because you can't get out of your mindset. You're scared. I don't know, there is a fear about something new. And we have to get out of that mode. Learning, education is an exploration now.
Right.
And you have to get into the adventurer's mindset.
Right. No, that's very true.
That is how only way you will survive.
But I think you have that mindset because I remember my batchmate from FTI, Rajesh, K. Rajesh, teaches here. And the first thing he told me was, I said, I'm thinking of doing this podcast with Indrajit Neogi, sir. And he said, yeah, but that man, I went to him and I said that let me frame this. We need to frame this course and we need to finish it. And he said, no, it's okay, you can frame it. But the thing is that cinema is about exploration. And the students have to explore their minds to actually understand cinema, and that is cinema. That I think something like that is what you said to him, and I think that's a beautiful way to. Of course, there has to be deadlines and there have to be frames.
No, there are definitely. It is not
but
as easy as it said, because finally, when you pass out, you have to survive.
Yeah.
You have to work.
Yeah.
And you have to work within the given industry framework,
Barabar.
or whoever is willing to put in money.
Barabar.
and whatever his requirements are, you have to fit yourself into that system. But so it is sometimes a very subtle balancing act you have to do. At some level, you have to keep on growing. Never think that what I've learned so far is enough. It's not enough. Because not only tools are changing, but often the basic concepts are changing.
Of course.
The craft is going through a change.
Of course.
So you need to adapt to that. And same time, you also be up to date. And you have to fit yourself into the given state of mind, knowing it very well that present state won't be there for after 3 years. So this state will evolve, and you have to evolve with that.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is the approach you need. From
Yeah. No, that is very true, very true. And I think you have that approach, and I think I'm absolutely. But I think we're also being unfair to the generation which is now, because I hear a lot of my friends who are now have kids who are 12 years and 15 years, and they always there's this kind of a crib कि अरे ये करेगा क्या, या फिर they are very smart but their life is like that, or whatever the crib is, But I think what a lot of parents end up doing is they're comparing themselves at 40 with someone who is 17, or 13 or 14 or 15. I think that is such an unfair comparison. I mean, you need to compare. You need to remember that when you were 15, how much did you know, and what was your idea of?
We very easily forget our past.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry to say about this FTI thing. FTI has a long history of strikes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
Even
I did a strike. I was in a strike.
You did a strike. I did a strike. Every batch did a strike. Yeah. But suddenly, the older students were so critical about the present students when they are doing a strike.
Yeah.
They waste their time, and they have totally forgotten that during their time they have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean it has its own problems. Sometimes the strikes are not productive and this and that, but it's all part of growing up.
Yeah.
You sometimes you protest, sometimes the protest is successful.
But I think both of them are right in there, because what I feel today is that we spent like around 4.5 years in FTI. I feel, boss, you need to get out as soon as possible, because the world outside is very different. And when you're in FTI, you are protected. You have an environment which is so secure that you find it very difficult to get out. But once you are in the film industry, it's a dog-eat-dog world. And you came into the institute to make films. You didn't come in the institute to make that one diploma film and then finish with it.
What I'm saying is that let's not be judgmental or dismissive.
Yeah,
Let's
absolutely.
understand that yes, this is the process, and make them understand that. This boss, life is little more bigger than what you think.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody understands that. That's what I'm saying. Like even when we were in a strike, or when you were in a strike, I don't think we understand it from that perspective. One has to pass out, वो धक्के खाने पड़ते हैं. Then you have to go then you go into the institute, then you go to Bombay and you realize, boss, I don't have time to write because all the time I'm trying to make rent. That's all that I'm trying to. I'm just running pillar to post to make rent every month. So
like last year, 3 days back, one of my ex-students came here to meet me. And he said that, sir, after passing out, I'm realizing how difficult to do anything.
Yeah.
And इधर सब कुछ facility था और मैंने इधर हम लोग कुछ नहीं किया. And they saying that we are discussing with their batchmates, said that how we wasted our time here. It is sad. Sometimes there is,
process.
but that's again a process that you go through this experience and you deprive yourself of something to get out and realize, oh my God, what I left.
That's the process.
That's the process.
No, but that's true not only for film school, because we're talking film school and both of us have those backgrounds. But I'm sure, because I about some days back I went to my 25th alumni of my business school, Jamnalal Bajaj, and it was like all of us, like after 40 of us, 45 of us, after all these years, almost 30-40% of the batch, and it is amazingly surprising to see how chilled out people have become. So people who were very competitive in school are now very chilled out. Then there are so many people who just quit their jobs and they have started their own funds or started their own businesses, small things. I'm sure they don't make the kind of money they would if they were working in the same thing. But they have found that. So people are always trying to,
Yeah, yeah.
find their own space and their own thing. And we feel that at 21 we know everything, or at 23 when I passed out of MBA. I think you know everything, or a lot of people around us would have felt that I know how the stock market works. I know what I'm going to do. You don't know. In 2 years later, probably you don't know that whether you did the right thing, or maybe you could have done something else. So one has to have an open mind in terms of what one is possible and what is the
And
possibility
also,
around
it is very difficult to be confident that you can do the right thing.
Right.
You have to accept that you will do many things which is wrong, which will become wrong, and that is also have to be a part of your learning.
Yeah.
And part of your acceptance is that it is like a yes, but like they say now that in stock, since you gave the example of stock market, you said that out of 10 trades, if 3 trades are successful and makes all the money, and in 7 trades you cut the loss, you still make a lot of profit.
Yeah.
So like even in life, because the things are changing so fast, it is not possible to be successful all the time. But you have to. So my point is that you need वो जो पहले जो एक career driven approach बीच में जो आ गया था बहुत strong. Like everybody is looking like first thing they ask that my parents ask how much will be the starting salary. But I think the time has come where we have to look at education again as but we have to discover learning. And not as
discovering learning,
not
as a monetization opportunity.
Not as a
Monetization
because
opportunity.
if you think as a monetization opportunity, then the chances of failure actually become higher.
Very high. What a beautiful thing to say.
Very high.
What a beautiful. I absolutely agree with this. Absolutely.
And
agree with this.
also, we have to shift away from this very capitalistic kind of mindset. I think the time has come. What we are seeing right now is the ugliest form of capitalistic mindset. And I think that the time is coming where, and I think the new generation is slowly, the youngsters are thinking like that. Sometimes I get that when you talk to them and you realize that because at a certain point of time, everything, your criteria of success become money driven. Money, how much salary, what I am doing, but इसके बाद एक अभी जो shift हो रहा है, I mean instead of buying a new house, people treat it as an experience. Like I should see more places. Instead of staying in one house, I'll experience more things.
Right.
So this is a younger generation have started thinking like that. जो हम लोग ने नहीं सोचा था वैसा. Because this thing was about मैं कब घर खरीदूंगा. वो एक था. तो अभी एक टाइम आ गया फिर से. I think go back to the whole spirit of education, spirit of learning, embrace changes, be an explorer, and that will help you to survive.
Right. No, what a beautiful. I think this is a good way to end our podcast, because I think this is what is important. And sir, one final thing which I would like to know is that you have lived this, I think, nice, rich life. Not necessarily monetarily, but it seems like, from your first thing from Durgapur to Purulia to, it's to IIT and then FTII and then in the industry, and now you're into academics. I mean, how do you see your life now at this age where you can once look back, and what are the thoughts which swirl around, and what is it that you feel?
Look, I'm bit uncomfortable with the things which is happening around the world. I think which is fact. I mean, I don't think this is the world whether it is happening in India or anywhere else, like what is happening in Ukraine in 2022. I thought that those things should get over by now. Somewhere the country, people, everybody should be mature enough to get out. I think suddenly there is so much of hatred and division which is come in our society. I mean, just see, there's so many friendships are getting broken. So many. I'll give you one example. I mean, recently we are thinking of having a family gathering because we have not met for my family, with my brother's
Right.
family and sister's family.
Right.
Everybody.
Right.
And then my sister told me, but so many people have got very different political opinion, and now it is very difficult to enjoy with two different
Political ideologies.
political ideology. So it is better not to have a family gathering, to keep the family together. And I mean, because
Oh my God.
and this, unfortunately, this is the
Ground reality of
ground reality where I'm with you or I'm against you.
yeah.
And I think we have to get out of it as soon as possible for a healthy growth, for a healthy survival. What hurts me most, not any isms, but the kind of a cultural degradation which is happening. And I think we have to get out of it. And let's hope. I mean, we can just hope now.
I think, sir, everything is a process, like we just talked beginning. I think this is also a process. This will have to be lived through. This will see its share of suffering. This will see it will see its share of upheaval, and what will emerge will emerge. I mean, I have reached that stage where I feel that that is how it is going to be. But there is always hope. I hope. I mean, that's why we are a species which has survived so long, and there is always hope. And it was such a rich experience for me to talk with you, because I've known you for some time now, but I didn't know these stories, like right from the library burning to your love to books, and I think these are wonderful stories, and I hope and your whole attitude on sound, and I mean. I think this is a wonderful learning for me in terms of experience, and to actually I hope as people who are listening to this also learn from your experiences and try to make their life better and try to make this world better, because that would make you happy. I hope at least your students, and I'm sure you are drilling it into them, that make the world a better place. And it is teachers like you, I guess, who give us hope that actually someday this world might become a better place. And thank you so much for your time, sir, and thank you for this lovely conversation that I had with you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Professor Emeritus and film sound recordist Indrajit Neogi. I drop a new episode every Friday night at around 10 p.m. I will also end this and every episode by recommending a film or a web series. But before that, here is a small message on how you can help to keep this podcast alive and growing. This episode is free, and I intend to keep it that way. But it does take a lot of time, money, and effort to produce the show. We research, write, record, and edit before we finally present it to you. So if you wish to be a part of our effort, you can support the making of the show by contributing any amount you wish on our website, conversationswithatul.com/support. And here is my film record. What is the singular purpose of sound design in a film? I believe it is to place the audience in the middle of all the drama, the emotion, and the action happening on screen. To that end, one of my favorite all-time films is the 2019 Oscar winner for Best Sound Editing. The name of the film is Ford vs. Ferrari. Written by Jez Butterworth, John Henry Butterworth, and Jason Keller, and directed by James Mangold, Ford vs. Ferrari is the story of two men who built a revolutionary Ford car to beat favorites Ferrari at the 24 Hour of Le Mans. Ford vs. Ferrari rates a racy 8.1 out of 10 on IMDb. Do watch if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitter by following my Twitter handle Atul Taishete, spelled as ATULTAISHETE. Also, do visit my website, Conversations, that is, Conversations plural with an S. The complete website address is conversationswithatul.com. So see you next Friday at 10 p.m. with a different guest, a new episode, and a fresh conversation, right here on Conversations with Atul. Have a rocking fun week and stay safe. Thank you.